Chapter 1083. Lin Yan's shout successfully interrupted Pei Yuqing. A second later, Lin Yan was pleasantly surprised to discover that she had regained control of her body. Was calling him hubby that useful? It had actually shaken Pei Yuqing's consciousness out. Lin Yan hurriedly replied as she read the comments, "All right, it's about time. Let's end our conversation here. Thank you, President Ji, for your gifts. All the gifts will be used for charity. Thank you, President Ji, for your contributions to charity." Lin Yan drew a line between herself and Ji Mingzhi and said, "About the question that all of you are concerned about, I will let my future husband answer it." Lin Yan hurriedly left the message and went offline. She didn't dare linger. What if Pei Yuqing possessed her again? Lin Yan had just gone offline when she received a call from Pei Yuqing's assistant, Cheng Mo. Why was Cheng Mo calling her now? Lin Yan answered the call suspiciously. Cheng Mo's voice sounded as though the sky had fallen. "Miss Lin. Bad news. President Pei fainted because of you." Lin Yan was puzzled. What? Pei Yuqing had fainted because of her? Cheng Mo panicked. After Boss Pei saw the news about you and Ji Mingzhi on the internet, he suddenly fainted and lost consciousness. He's currently being resuscitated in the hospital, and the doctor said that he's not even breathing. They've already issued a critical. Are you awake? Cheng Mo, who was on the other end of the line, suddenly spoke excitedly. Pei Yuqing seemed to have woken up. Hence, he hurriedly said, "Miss Lin, President Pei is awake. I'll call you later." Cheng Mo hung up after speaking. Lin Yan stared at her phone for a while, trying to figure out what had happened. Pei Yuqing had been agitated and jealous because he had read the news about her and Ji Mingzhi? Now, because she had called him hubby, his consciousness had returned. Lin Yan was lost in her thoughts when her phone rang again. This time it was Pei Yuqing. "Are you all right?" Lin Yan asked with concern. "Will your consciousness affect your body? Assistant Cheng said that you suddenly fainted and even stopped breathing." Pei Yuqing grinned. "Cheng Mo didn't say why I fainted." Lin Yan coughed softly. "Well, I really have nothing to do with Ji Mingzhi. He kept saying that I was his first love and that he had wooed me in college. He even said that he had a high school sweetheart with me. However, I don't remember anything. Perhaps it's because my brain was damaged during the car accident. Of course, even if my memory wasn't damaged, I probably wouldn't remember. Actually, this wasn't the first time something like this had happened. People often gossiped with her about who liked her, and some of her friends even said who had been chasing her for a long time, but the problem was that she couldn't tell that someone liked her. She didn't even know that the other party was chasing her. Pei Yuqing didn't know if he should feel helpless or relieved. So don't be angry. Your body has just recovered a little. Don't worsen." Lin Yan sounded worried. "She's fine now?" Pei Yuqing paused before he added, "Of course, if you can address her as Miss Lin again, it will help the patient's emotions." Lin Yan was speechless. Pei Yuqing seemed to have predicted Lin Yan's reaction. He chuckled softly and said, "All right, I won't disturb you anymore. Rest early." Lin Yan heaved a sigh of relief. You should rest early too. Good night." Pei Yuqing replied, "Good night, Mrs. Lin." Lin Yan was speechless. Second embarrassment. That's why I said that Lu Tingxiao relied on his EQ to woo his wife, Si Yihan relied on his looks, and Pei Yuqing relied on his shamelessness. Oh, ****. Oh, end of this chapter. Chapter 1084. The livestream last night had sent Lin Yan to the top of the search rankings once again. Lin Yan sighed helplessly as she read the content on her phone. This time the content was even more outrageous. KNO's president, Ji Mingzhi, had personally come to the livestream to confess. Lin Yan hurriedly left the livestream in embarrassment. Shortly after, Lin Yan received a call from Ji Mingzhi. "Miss Lin, are you free today? Do you want to have dinner together?" Ji Mingzhi's voice rang out. Lin Yan fell silent for a moment before she asked softly, "Is it business?" "No, I just want to treat you to a meal." Lin Yan replied awkwardly, "I can't do that today. The team needs to be reorganized." Ji Mingzhi was taken aback. "A convoy? What team?" Before Lin Yan could reply, Ji Mingzhi suddenly chuckled. "I suddenly remembered that you have your own team. What about tomorrow? Are you free?" "I don't have much time tomorrow," Lin Yan replied softly. If she were to be possessed by Pei Yuqing while she was eating with Ji Mingzhi, the scene would be too beautiful to imagine. As long as it wasn't business, she would try her best to avoid it. After hanging up, Lin Yan planned to head to the company. She had already settled the matter with the racing team, so she had to take responsibility. The matter with the Aurora team had been delayed for a few days. On the way out, Lin Yan felt that something was amiss. After scrutinizing it for a long time, she realized that there was a new manor on the right side of Cloud Manor. It was still under construction. Lin Yan was a little surprised when she saw this. Wasn't this too exaggerated? This scale was comparable to Cloud Manor. Lin Yan couldn't help but be curious. Which tycoon had built this? Besides, Lin Yan was puzzled. Why would they build it next to Cloud Manor? Lin Yan didn't think too much about this new manor. There was only one thought in her mind. When she arrived at the company, Chi Feng was the first to welcome her. "Miss Lin, the team members you selected are all here. They have been waiting for you for a few days." Chi Feng walked over to Lin Yan and spoke softly. Lin Yan's gaze landed on Chi Feng, and she couldn't help but look strange. "Miss Lin, why are you looking at me like that?" Chi Feng stared at Lin Yan in confusion. "Chi Feng, are you really a racer?" Lin Yan frowned. Based on his understanding of Chi Feng was an evolver with a high evolutionary level. How could he be a racer? Chi Feng, who was taken aback, replied in confusion, "Of course I'm a racer. Miss Lin, why do you ask? Your evolution level isn't low, right?" Lin Yan went straight to the point. Chi Feng smiled. "So, Miss Lin, do you think that I'm an evolved person and why I became a professional racer?" Chi Feng added, "I'm an evolved being, but that doesn't stop me from becoming a professional racer. I've had a racing dream since I was young." Lin Yan glanced at Chi Feng. "Didn't you have a martial arts dream since you were young?" Chi Feng smiled. "I've been fickle since I was young. Besides, Ms. Lin, you're also an evolved person. If you can become a professional racer, why can't I?" Chi Feng said. Although there was nothing wrong with Chi Feng's words, Lin Yan felt that something was amiss. End of chapter. Chapter 1085. A good dog doesn't block the way. Zhang San walked out of the room with a broom and pushed Chi Feng, who was chatting with Lin Yan. Upon seeing this, Chi Feng looked at the cleaner Zhang San in confusion. "What are you looking at?" "I'll gouge your eyeballs out," Zhang San hissed coldly. Before Chi Feng could speak, Zhang San's eyes landed on Lin Yan. "Why haven't you shown your face these days? I have important information to tell you. Come to the cleaning department when you're free." Zhang San turned around and left. "Miss Lin, is this the team's cleaner?" Chi Feng glanced at Lin Yan. Lin Yan nodded awkwardly. Zhang San was indeed Storm's cleaner. "I've never seen such a cleaner before. What does he mean by information?" Chi Feng stared at Lin Yan curiously. Lin Yan replied thoughtfully, "Perhaps the toilet is clogged." Chi Feng was speechless. "What kind of information is that?" asked Chi Feng. "Work information," replied Lin Yan. The corners of Chi Feng's mouth twitched. "Whatever you say." After entering the office with Chi Feng, Lin Yan glanced around. Other than He Lufeng, all the racers she had appointed were there. However, these racers were all listless, as though they weren't interested in the new team. "Hello everyone. Let me introduce myself. I'm Lin Yan, the boss and captain of Storm." Lin Yan's gaze swept across the professional racers in the company and she chuckled softly. Everyone glanced at Lin Yan listlessly. "Miss Lin, you must have a good relationship with the racing guild in China. Do you know the president?" One of the racers sat up and spoke to Lin Yan. Lin Yan was startled when she heard that. However, he immediately understood the meaning behind those words. These racers must have thought that she had relied on her relationship with the racing guild in China to make a comeback. Otherwise, how could a racer who wasn't even a substitute become an official member of the team? The Chinese team had even allowed Lin Yan to choose any team member to join her team. I wonder what the higher-ups of the Chinese guild are thinking. A professional racer wearing a baseball cap sneered. "It seems like China doesn't care about this year's international competition at all. Otherwise, they wouldn't have let us join Miss Lin's team." "Zhou, don't talk nonsense," Chi Feng said to Zhou. "Nonsense?" The professional racer called Zhou sneered. "Chi Feng, how is this nonsense? Do you think that's not the truth?" "Haha, the international competition is divided into 3 levels, from the first level to the 3rd level. Our Miss Lin's racing team doesn't even qualify to participate in the 3rd level, let alone the 1st level. I heard that the president made an exception and gave her a spot in the 3rd level. How close is Miss Lin to the president? That's why we have to be careful with our words. Don't offend Miss Lin. Otherwise, if the president bears a grudge against us, we won't have a good time in the future." As his words faded, many people fell into silence. They really hadn't considered this problem. End of chapter. Chapter 1086. Needless to say, the woman in front of them must have a deep connection with the Chinese team. Aurora had just been established a few days ago, so they could only participate in some small competitions in the country. However, because of Lin Yan, the president had made an exception and allowed this team to qualify for the third level of the international competition. If this team could achieve good results in the third level, they could even participate in the second or first level of the international competition. If they really offended this woman, the Chinese team would bear a grudge and seek revenge in the future. This was no laughing matter. Miss Lin, we are unlucky and afraid of you. Tell us what you need us to do. One of the professional racers glanced at Lin Yan and sighed helplessly. I don't think so. Lin Yan glanced at the professional racers and chuckled softly. Miss Lin, don't tell me you really think that you can really lead us to the third level of the international competition? Zhou Yu asked Lin Yan. Perhaps it's the first level, replied Lin Yan. Everyone turned to look at each other in bewilderment. Was this woman crazy? Did she even know what an international competition was? The professional racers exchanged a smile but didn't refute Lin Yan. All right then, Miss Lin Yan. Do we need to train now? Zhou Yu glanced at Lin Yan. Lin Yan shook her head. There's no need for training. Lin Yan trusted these professional racers, so there was no need for any special training. What should we do then? Read a book or watch a movie to relax. Lin Yan grinned. Everyone sighed helplessly at Lin Yan's words. The world's top competition was about to begin, yet this woman didn't want them to train. Instead, she wanted them to read a book or watch a movie. However, after some thought, they realized that there was no hope of winning. They might as well read a book or watch a movie. Those foreign teams didn't take them seriously at all. Over the past few days, all the competent racing teams in China had more or less been challenged. Looking at the Polar Light Racing team, it was peaceful. Those who wanted to read were reading, and those who wanted to play games were playing games. There were no signs of them being challenged at all. Lin Yan turned on her computer and checked which foreign teams had come to the country recently. Miss Lin, what do you plan to do? Qi Feng pushed the door open and entered. Lin Yan glanced at Qi Feng and replied thoughtfully, just like I said, do what you have to do. Miss Lin, aren't you worried at all? Or are you too confident? Qi Feng asked curiously. You're an evolved being, but you're quite concerned about your side job. Lin Yan glanced at Qi Feng. Qi Feng sighed. It's not a sideline. I love racing even though I'm not strong enough to shine in the international competition. Oh yeah, Miss Lin, your car is indeed very strong. Is it related to your evolved ability? Qi Feng stared at Lin Yan thoughtfully. However, on second thought, Qi Feng shook his head. Although evolved humans had an advantage in racing, it wasn't the deciding factor. Otherwise he would be as famous as Yeva. Miss Lin, time is tight. Why don't I bring them down to train? I think our team's training ground is very luxurious. Qi Feng said. Sure. Lin Yan nodded. End of chapter. Chapter 1087. After Qi Feng left, Zhang San and Li Si sneakily pushed the door open and entered Lin Yan's office. Seniors, what was the information you mentioned earlier? Lin Yan's gaze landed on Zhang San and Li Si as she asked softly. Immediately, the two brothers looked around carefully. Lin Yan was speechless. Seniors, this is my office. No one else will be here. Lin Yan sighed. I'm afraid there are bugs, said Li Si. That's right. I've been bored recently, so I watched some blockbusters. Now we're afraid of bugs. Zhang San nodded repeatedly. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. These two brothers had indeed watched too many movies. There's no bug here, Lin Yan assured them. All right then. Zhang San nodded and stared at Lin Yan. Little girl, let me tell you. We have a huge piece of information here. Sibai plans to play tricks on you. Lin Yan's expression changed slightly when she heard Zhang San. Sibai? The evolved being who had a macaw with him all day. She had chased him away twice. Little girl, I heard that you have a powerful evolved being by your side. Did you hire a bodyguard? Li Si glanced at Lin Yan curiously. I have a powerful evolved being by my side? Lin Yan was puzzled. She didn't have a powerful evolved being by her side other than Pei Yuqing. However, Pei Yuqing wasn't in the country at the moment. Who said that? Asked Lin Yan. Who else could it be? Sibai. He tried to capture you last time, but he failed. We heard from Sibai that you have a powerful evolved being by your side, so he failed, explained Zhang San. Lin Yan fell into deep thought. The two of them should be talking about the night that Sibai had attacked her again, but she had chased him away. Lin Yan couldn't help but smile. Sibai clearly couldn't defeat her. He had lost to her twice, but he refused to admit it. He insisted that she had a powerful evolved being by her side. Who was this powerful evolver? Was it Xing Qin or Ling Yu? Could it be Wang Jingyang? Little girl, what you said last time was right. That kid Sibai is not a good person at all. Not only did he fail a few times to deal with a little baby like you, he even wants to play dirty now. He's too much. Although we are members of the Hunters Guild branch and are insignificant compared to the headquarters, we still disdain to be associated with Si Bai. Li Si snorted coldly. Lin Yin studied Zhang San and Li Si silently. Although the two of them were a little abnormal and looked silly, they had a rare sense of justice in their hearts. This surprised Lin Yin. Seniors, do you know what Si Bai's next move will be? Lin Yin pondered for a moment before she asked. Although Lin Yin wasn't afraid of Si Bai right now, as the old saying went, she wasn't afraid of a thief stealing, but she was afraid of a thief remembering. She didn't know Si Bai at all, but that person kept pestering her and caused trouble for her several times. It was clearly a misunderstanding, but he didn't listen to her advice. I'm not sure what his next move will be, but he will definitely play dirty this time. He won't fight you head-on. He will definitely catch you off guard. That's right, that's right. Little girl, you have to be careful. Si Bai asked us to wait for his instructions. I don't know what he wants to do. However, I have a bold guess, said Zhang San. Chapter 1088. Senior Zhang San, please speak. Lin Yin glanced at Zhang San. Little girl, I reckon that Si Bai is preparing to attack the people close to you to force you to submit. Zhang San thought for a moment and said. Lin Yin frowned when she heard Zhang San. Although Lin Yin didn't really believe Zhang San's conjecture, she was very worried. What if, do you have any sisters? I'm afraid Zhang San will attack them, said Li Si. Lin Yin, who was taken aback, replied, Oh? That's fine then, you're fine now? What do you mean? Zhang San didn't understand. Lin Yin grinned. Thank you for your hard work, seniors. If Si Bai has any specific news, you can inform me at any time. If she could find out what Si Bai planned to do next, she would naturally have a way to deal with it. Right now, Lin Yan's only concern was He Muyun. She would have to trouble Xing Qin and Ling Yu to look after her mother for a while. Coincidentally, He Muyun had been taking care of her grandfather in the hospital. She had protected him as well. All right, we'll go eat lunch first. Little girl, tell your good-for-nothing brother to prepare better meals. He eats more than anyone else and can't do anything, Zhang San muttered and left the office with Li Si. She dialed Wang Jingyang's number. That night, Wang Jingyang was also at the scene. Although he was wearing a black robe and his face could not be seen clearly, who knew if Si Bai had eyes and ears? If he captured Wang Jingyang, it would really be difficult for her. Grandson, why are you looking for your grandfather? Wang Jingyang's voice rang through Lin Yan's phone. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. Doggy, are you itching for a beating after 3 days? Why are you looking for me? Hurry up and tell me, I have something to do here. Somewhere in China, Wang Jingyang hid in the dark and answered Lin Yan's call cautiously. Go Z, what can happen to you? You haven't been running around recently. Come to my company. I have to look after you. Wang Jingyang was stunned. Look at me? I'm AF * King Adult. Do I need you to look after me? Do you think you're my mom? I'm your ancestor. Cut the crap. I told you to come, so come. What, you want to eat and sleep with me? That's not the point. Just tell me if you're going to sleep or not. Wang Jingyang said. I'll sleep with you. Wang Jingyang frowned and rubbed his ears, which had been shaken by Lin Yan's roar. Shayan, I was wrong about you. How dare you plot against my boss? Lin Yan was speechless. All right, cut the crap. I'll look for you later. I don't have time now. I'm hanging up and scram. Wang Jingyang hung up before Lin Yan could finish her sentence. After Lin Yan hung up, Wang Jingyang stared at the laboratory solemnly. Wang Jingyang did not expect this laboratory to be related to death. After so many years, he did not know much about death. Wang Jingyang was very concerned about the recent events. Some time ago, death had even approached Lin Yan. Wang Jingyang was confident that he would know if Lin Yan had anything to do with death. However, he didn't know, which meant that Lin Yan had nothing to do with death. There was only one thing that worried Wang Jingyang the most. He was afraid that death had discovered Lin Yan's secret. If that was the case, he would have to destroy death completely. Chapter 1089. Wang Jingyang had been waiting in the dark for a long time. He did not act rashly. Wang Jingyang was not familiar with death, an evolved human organization. Coupled with the rumors about the leader of death, Wang Jingyang was cautious. This evolver organization had always been very mysterious, especially since the she-devil had never shown her face in front of anyone. Wang Jingyang sneaked into the lab late at night. However, what surprised Wang Jingyang was that the lab was empty. Apart from some unknown equipment, there was not a single person. What the F***ck? Wang Jingyang looked at the empty lab with a dumbfounded expression. So he waited for so long from day to night to fight with the air. Wang Jingyang was dumbfounded for a long time before he accepted the truth. After a while, Wang Jingyang's face darkened. He wanted to open the door of the lab and leave, but the metal door seemed to have been welded shut. He could not open it at all. Before Wang Jingyang could think further, a giant screen in front of the lab suddenly turned on. On the screen was a young and beautiful girl. At that moment, the girl was looking at Wang Jingyang expressionlessly through the screen. "Your Excellency, you have guts." After a long time, the girl's cold voice echoed throughout the entire lab. This scene caused Wang Jingyang's brows to furrow deeply. So, he was set up? This is a beautiful misunderstanding. Open the door first, I'll explain to you. Wang Jingyang looked at the girl on the screen and smiled softly. "If I'm not mistaken, Your Excellency, you used to be a member of the Mountain Sea Organization, the Mountain Sea Heavenly Hound," the girl said expressionlessly. As the girl's voice fell, the smile on Wang Jingyang's face suddenly disappeared. Death really has eyes and ears everywhere. You even know my identity?" A cold light flashed in Wang Jingyang's eyes. "Since you know who I am, you should know that this place can't trap me. I have 2 suggestions." The girl stared at Wang Jingyang and said calmly. "Let's hear it," Wang Jingyang said. "Join us or disappear from this world," the girl said. Hearing the girl's words, Wang Jingyang smirked. "I can join you, but will you let me be your boss? If you recognize me as your boss, everything will be fine." "So, you'd rather disappear from this world?" the girl said. "Since you don't want to open the door, then don't accuse me of destroying property." Wang Jingyang turned around, walked to the door and immediately punched out. With a loud bang, the iron door of the laboratory was shattered by Wang Jingyang's punch. However, just as Wang Jingyang walked out of the lab, a large number of evolved humans swarmed in from all directions. These evolvers did not move forward. Instead, they spread out in every corner and completely sealed off all the exits. Seeing this, Wang Jingyang sighed. "There are so many people here. I wouldn't have come if I had known." Wang Jingyang looked around helplessly. "Is there anyone in charge? There's no need to send these small fries to their deaths." Wang Jingyang stood where he was and spoke indifferently. As soon as Wang Jingyang finished speaking, several old men walked out from the darkness. In the middle of these old men was the cold girl who appeared on the screen in the laboratory. Seeing this, Wang Jingyang's lips curled up slightly. His gaze landed on the girl. "Are you the legendary she-devil of death? Shanghai Tengu, you shouldn't have provoked us, death," one of the elders said coldly. End of chapter. Chapter 1090. Wang Jingyang chuckled softly. He didn't seem to care about the old man's words. He glanced at the evolved beings in the dark and asked curiously, "What exactly does death do? There must be many laboratories like this. If you're willing to join death, you'll naturally know all our secrets. Are you interested?" The girl, who was surrounded by a few old men, spoke expressionlessly. "Yes." Wang Jingyang grinned. "Do you want me to be your big brother? If all of you acknowledge me as your big brother, there won't be a problem." The young lady's eyes lit up when she heard that. She looked at Wang Jingyang thoughtfully. "Tell me, why did death cause trouble for my friend?" Wang Jingyang grinned. The purpose of his trip was to find out the truth. "This has nothing to do with you. Since you're unwilling to join death, you'll only be a hindrance. It's best that you walk right into the trap today," the girl replied calmly. "Walk right into the trap?" Wang Jingyang eyed the girl with interest. "You're too arrogant. Buy some toothpaste and try it. You must have a death wish." The few old men darted to Wang Jingyang's side at lightning speed. However, in at most a few breaths of time, the elders were forced to retreat step by step. They were practically unable to retaliate at all. "That's it?" Wang Jingyang glanced at them and sneered coldly. "You're no match for him. Step down," the girl said. "Are you going to do it yourself?" Hearing the girl's words, one of the old men was surprised. "Yeah," the girl replied. The elders looked at each other in dismay. If anything went wrong, they would have to bear the consequences. This girl was the perfect 4th-generation test subject. "Step down," the girl said. The old men had no choice but to retreat. At this moment, the girl took a step forward. Her speed was so fast that it was shocking. Like a gentle breeze, she arrived beside Wang Jingyang in an instant. "I'm the perfect 4th-generation test subject?" The girl's eyes met Wang Jingyang's. "Test subject?" Wang Jingyang studied the young man carefully. "No way. Are you a robot? How can there be such advanced technology?" "How dare you?" one of the elders shouted coldly. The young man waved his hand, signaling the old man to stop talking. He then looked at Wang Jingyang and said, I'm not a robot. I became an evolved human through a lab. Before me there were 3 generations of evolved humans. I'm the 4th generation. Oh, I see. Wang Jingyang stared at the girl. What does this have to do with me? If you are willing, you can become our 5th generation experimental subject. You might become even stronger than me, the young girl said. You want me to become a guinea pig? Wang Jingyang was astonished. Immediately after, he flicked his finger at the girl's forehead at an extremely fast speed. In the next second there was a loud bang and the girl was sent flying by Wang Jingyang's finger. He doesn't have a fever, Wang Jingyang muttered to himself as he watched the young man fly away. Seeing this, the elders immediately went forward to help the girl up. Shanghai lives up to its reputation. I've heard since I was young that every member has the terrifying power of an evolved human. There was a trace of blood at the corner of the girl's mouth, but there was no sign of pain on her face. Wang Jingyang looked at the girl and said, Little girl, I've been merciful just now. You better answer my questions honestly. You only have one life. Didn't your mother teach you to cherish it? End of this chapter. Chapter 1091. I don't have a mother, the girl told Wang Jingyang expressionlessly. Wang Jingyang was speechless. Was it important whether she had a mother or not? What did it have to do with him that she didn't have a mother? He wasn't her father. Before Wang Jingyang could reply, the girl added, You're really powerful, but unfortunately, you're no match for me. As soon as she said that, a terrifying evolved power surged from her body and engulfed the entire place like a thunderstorm. Wang Jingyang couldn't help but frown when he sensed this power. Is this a level 3 gene? No one was more familiar with the power of level 3 evolution than Wang Jingyang. One's body had to evolve to its limit to unlock the gene. Very few evolved people had the ability to unlock a level 3 gene. Every time they unlocked a gene, the gene cells in their body would start to burn. When the level 3 gene was unlocked, they would temporarily possess godlike power. The evolved person who unlocked the level 3 gene would die because his gene cells were burned to ashes. Wang Jingyang hadn't expected that this girl would be an evolved person and she had unlocked her level 1 gene. Wang Jingyang had also unlocked his level 1 gene when he had fought Pei Yuqing overseas. Heavenly Hound of the Mountains and Seas, this is my level 1 gene. If you're strong enough, I can unlock the 2nd or even the 3rd gene. I hope you won't disappoint me. The girl walked toward Wang Jingyang expressionlessly. Wang Jingyang couldn't help but look puzzled. He couldn't understand. Throughout the ages, there had been many evolved people who had a level 3 gene, but they had only appeared once in a generation. At the very least, Wang Jingyang had never heard of another evolved person who had mastered a level 3 gene in this era. You're confused, aren't you? The girl noticed Wang Jingyang's strange expression and said softly, As someone who has mastered a level 3 gene, you can't understand why there's another person besides you in this era who has mastered a level 3 gene? You know that I have a level 3 gene. Wang Jingyang's deep gaze landed on the girl. Of course, I know everything about you, because your blood flows in my body, the girl said softly. Wang Jingyang's expression changed when he heard the girl's words. What had she just said? His blood flowed in her body? Wang Jingyang's mind raced. What had he done all these years? But no matter how he thought about it, he could swear to the heavens that he had absolutely not done anything. He was not even interested in touching a woman's hand. He was absolutely innocent. No matter how you deny it, it's the truth and it's a fact that can't be changed. Your blood does flow in my body and I have your genes, the girl said to Wang Jingyang. I'll say it again, I'm not your father, Wang Jingyang said coldly. Was there something wrong with this girl's head? He had never met her before, yet she was already calling him father? If he had really done something improper in the past, he might have been confused for a moment. However, he had never touched any woman since he was young. How could he suddenly have such a grown-up daughter? He had become a father out of the blue. This was simply intolerable. Moreover, how was this girl similar to him? Moreover, how old was he? It was even more impossible for him to have a daughter this old. End of chapter. Chapter 1092. No matter how angry or confused you are, this is the truth. You can't change it, said the girl. Don't slander me. I'm not your father. Wang Jingyang frowned. Of course you're not my father. The girl looked at Wang Jingyang coldly. It's just that I have your genes in my body. The reason I was able to become the perfect 4th generation test subject was because of your genes. Since I have your genes, it's only natural for me to be able to control a level 3 gene. Wang Jingyang heaved a sigh of relief. He had been wondering why he hadn't even been interested in touching a girl's hand. Why had he suddenly had a daughter? Wait, you said that you have my genes. Wang Jingyang frowned. Who are you? Or rather, who is your leader? How did he get my genes? The girl's words caused Wang Jingyang to be even more astonished. If there was only one person who had the chance to obtain his genes and he hadn't been wary of her, Lin Yan's face surfaced in Wang Jingyang's mind. If someone had wanted to obtain his genes, there had only been one time. A few years ago, he had evolved to a new level and his body couldn't take it in a short period of time. His body had been on the verge of collapse and Lin Yan, who had been unaware, had sent him to the hospital. If someone had wanted to obtain his blood and genes, it had been Lin Yan. He had never been wary of Lin Yan, especially when he had been at his weakest. He could easily sense anyone approaching him, be it an evolved being or an ordinary person. Even when he had been unconscious in the hospital, he had been no exception. Hence, even when he had been at his weakest in the hospital, it had been impossible for anyone to approach him and obtain his blood and genes, except for Lin Yan. You said that you have my blood flowing in your body and my genes. Do you think it's easy for an evolved being like me to be obtained by others? Wang Jingyang sneered coldly. He didn't believe the girl's words and he had said those words to trick her. It might be difficult for others. The girl glanced at Wang Jingyang expressionlessly. However, it's very simple for you, master. Master. So who is he? Asked Wang Jingyang. You are not qualified to know, the girl said. Hearing this, Wang Jingyang sighed and pinched his forehead with a slight headache. How heartless. You don't recognize me as your father so soon. I'll kill you and replace you, the girl said. From now on, I'll be the only one in the world who can control a rank 3 gene. As soon as she finished speaking, she'd already flashed over to Wang Jingyang's side, and then she swung her fist out. The extremely terrifying power of an evolved being completely dispersed at this moment. Boom! A deafening explosion resounded. Wang Jingyang and the girl's fists collided like falling stars. In the next second, just like before, the girl was instantly sent flying. Wang Jingyang stood where he was and looked at the puzzled girl behind him. He said calmly, You have indeed mastered rank 3 gene, but if you want to kill me, you'll have to wait another 1,000 years. How is this possible? Master has already unlocked the first gene, but he was still sent flying by the Mountain Sea Heavenly Hound in his normal state. One of the elders was astonished. Chapter 1093. The girl stared at Wang Jingyang, who was handling the situation with ease. Although she had been sent flying twice by Wang Jingyang, there was no expression on her face. If your basic strength is 10, even if you activate your ranked 3 gene and multiply your combat power by 100, you will only have a combat power of 1,000 at most. Wang Jingyang's gaze fell on the girl and he smiled faintly. If my basic combat power is 10,000, and you have 1,000 combat power after activating your ranked 3 gene, how can you defeat me who has a combat power of 10,000? The difference in their basic strength was too great. Even if the girl's evolution power soared after activating her ranked 3 gene, she would still be no match for Wang Jingyang. Do you know a lot about ranked 3 gene? The girl looked at Wang Jingyang and asked. Without giving Wang Jingyang a chance to speak, the girl's expression finally changed slightly, but she quickly hid it. If it wasn't for your blood gene, I wouldn't have a ranked 3 gene. The only difference is that I know more about rank 3 gene than you do. Hearing this, Wang Jingyang smiled and said, You really know how to boast. This was the first time Wang Jingyang had heard of someone claiming to know more about ranked 3 gene than him. I have your genes and blood. Unfortunately, after you activate your rank 2 gene, your body will pay a huge price and become an ordinary person. If you activate your rank 3 gene, you will definitely die. As for me, I don't have to pay any price. As soon as the girl's voice fell, her aura once again underwent an earth-shattering change. At this moment, the girl's long hair danced in the air, and her clothes fluttered. An invisible air wave surged from her body in all directions. Dust flew everywhere, and the giant trees in the surroundings were cut in half by the airwave. In the midst of the gray haze, it was as if an ancient beast had awakened. The terrifying power of the evolver lingered for a long time, and the surrounding elders revealed looks of horror. They were afraid that they would suffer an unexpected disaster, so they hurriedly retreated. This is a rank 3 gene. You've never seen it before, right? The girl's deep gaze fell on Wang Jingyang. It was just a sentence, but it seemed to have a great deal of pressure, causing people to be afraid and not dare to approach. Although Wang Jingyang had mastered rank 3 gene, he had never seen it before. If he used rank 3 gene, he would definitely die. Since he had never used it before, naturally he had never seen it before. Wang Jingyang was a little surprised by the girl's every move. At this moment, The girl was like a high and mighty true god that had descended into the mortal world. From the moment she appeared until now, she had undergone an earth-shattering transformation, as though she was a completely different person. Even Wang Jingyang could feel a trace of genetic pressure from the girl. Even he felt a little uneasy. "So this is a Tier 3 gene?" Wang Jingyang said thoughtfully. "In the flesh," the girl said faintly. Wang Jingyang didn't doubt the girl's words. Although he hadn't activated Tier 3 gene before, the Tier 3 gene seed had always been hidden in his gene bloodline. Intuition told Wang Jingyang that the girl's current state was indeed the state she should be in after activating Tier 3 gene seed. "You won't die?" Wang Jingyang frowned slightly. He had never seen or heard of such a thing. In theory, after activating a level 3 gene, the gene cells would burn faster until they were completely exhausted, and the evolver would die without a doubt. There was no chance of survival. Once a rank 3 gene was activated, one's combat power would increase tenfold or even 100-fold in a short period of time, and the evolver would have to pay a terrible price. Chapter 1094. What Wang Jingyang could not understand was that the girl in front of him was willing to sacrifice her life to use the rank 3 gene at will. If he could control this power, if he could use the rank 3 gene repeatedly, he and Little Yen would no longer have to fear and despair. They would no longer have to hide in the dark abyss. But soon Wang Jingyang shook his head and gave up on his fantasies. The surprise in his eyes dissipated as he looked at the girl in front of him with a hint of mockery. She would die. Wang Jingyang could feel that the girl's genetic cells were burning. He never doubted his own perception. "Little girl, what kind of grudge do you have against me that you're willing to use the rank 3 gene?" Right now Wang Jingyang was a little confused. Wang Jingyang did not believe the girl. No one could use the rank 3 gene and come out unscathed. Wang Jingyang was curious. What kind of grudge would make the girl sacrifice her life to use the rank 3 gene to kill him? "It seems like you don't believe me," the girl said softly. The girl said softly, "However, it doesn't matter to me whether you believe me or not. My mission is only to take your life." Before Wang Jingyang could speak, the girl disappeared from where she was and reappeared beside Wang Jingyang. Swoosh! She swung her palm at an extremely fast speed. The huge force was like a slanted torrent. Wang Jingyang did not even have time to react before his abdomen was hit. With a loud bang, Wang Jingyang was sent flying by a huge force. His whole body was like a piece of paper in a gale. After landing heavily on the ground, Wang Jingyang got up after a long time. He shook his head and stared at the girl. Her genetic cells. At this moment Wang Jingyang was shocked. The girl's genetic cells that had been burning were rapidly repairing themselves. This method of cell self-repair was simply unimaginable to Wang Jingyang. No wonder the girl said that she would not die even if she used the rank 3 gene. Although Wang Jingyang did not believe it, the current situation forced him to believe it. Wang Jingyang stood up slowly and asked the girl, "How did you burn your cells and repair themselves at the same time? Are you envious of this ability?" The girl said calmly. Wang Jingyang nodded. "Indeed, I'm envious of this ability." "There's no need to be envious of someone who is about to die," the girl said. Hearing this, Wang Jingyang smiled. "I really underestimated you. But your rank 3 gene is not pure. Do you want to see the real rank 3 gene?" Without giving the girl a chance to speak, Wang Jingyang's smile disappeared and he activated his rank 1 gene. Wang Jingyang's body erupted with terrifying evolutionary power. He had only unlocked the first gene, but the range of the evolved power was even more terrifying than the third gene that the girl had unlocked. Wang Jingyang looked at the girl and said, "I should be more than enough to deal with your rank 3 gene in this state." Before the girl could speak, the girl's pupils suddenly moved. Her throat felt as if it was being choked by an invisible giant hand, and the strange force made her feet leave the ground, making it impossible for her to breathe. "Looks like you're not a perfect test subject. You're a failure." Wang Jingyang looked at the girl coldly. "You stole something from me, so you must die." The girl could have her. Wang Jingyang's Jingyang. Just as the girl's throat was about to be crushed, a voice caused Wang Jingyang's expression to change. "Son of a b*****. Wang Jingyang looked behind him in disbelief. When his gaze fell on the girl, his pupils constricted. How was this possible? Chapter 1095. Wang Jingyang's eyes were filled with disbelief as he stared at the familiar face of the woman before him. However, there was a tinge of unfamiliarity in her eyes. The familiar luster in the girl's eyes had vanished, replaced by coldness. Under Wang Jingyang's astonished gaze, the woman walked towards him step by step. The smile at the corner of her mouth did not seem to be sincere. What is going on? Wang Jingyang's eyes never left the girl. In an instant he felt as though there were too many things he didn't understand. The woman didn't say anything, but she still wore a faint smile on her face. Wang Jingyang frowned deeply as the terrifying power of an evolved being surged in all directions. His perception became stronger. A moment later, Wang Jingyang's expression became even more astonished. This wasn't an illusion, and no one had used a mental attack on him. Hence, the woman in front of him was the real deal. The woman walked over to Wang Jingyang's side. The two of them stood and looked at each other. Wang Jingyang stared at the woman, not putting up any defenses. The woman raised her hand gently as though she wanted to touch Wang Jingyang's face. "You owe me an explanation," Wang Jingyang said softly as he stared at the woman. The woman beamed like a flower. However, in the blink of an eye, the smile on the woman's face suddenly disappeared, and a hint of viciousness that was difficult to detect appeared in her eyes. A second later, the woman's palm slapped Wang Jingyang's forehead. An indescribable coldness enveloped Wang Jingyang instantly, and a strange mental power surged from the woman's palm. Wang Jingyang's expression changed. He instinctively wanted to leave, but he couldn't move his body. The girl, who had been sent flying by Wang Jingyang several times, walked forward expressionlessly and glanced at the woman. Master? Wang Jingyang's consciousness grew weaker and weaker, as though his soul was about to be extracted by this mental power. He hadn't been prepared at all, so he had been hit. Otherwise, how could he have been trampled on? Pup, it's been hard on you all these years. The woman's eyes landed on Wang Jingyang, and a smile appeared on her face again. Why did you do this? Wang Jingyang tried to hold on to his dissipating consciousness. He needed an answer. Lin Yan. Wang Jingyang bellowed. The woman's smile didn't diminish. I don't need you anymore. You don't need me? Wang Jingyang was stunned. What are you talking about? Have you recovered your memory? Why did you attack me? He had been protecting her all this time. Wang Jingyang did not understand why she would attack him. Doggy farewell. Cloud Manor. Lin Yan opened her eyes abruptly. She was drenched in cold sweat. He looked at the time. It was past 2 in the afternoon. For the past few days, she had been dreaming of some strange scenes during her afternoon naps. Although she didn't have the slightest impression of it after she woke up, it still gave her lingering fear. Lin Yan got off the bed and gulped down half a glass of water. He looked at his phone, but there was still no response. What happened? Lin Yan frowned. She had lost contact with Wang Jingyang for days. Lin Yan dialed Wang Jingyang's number again. Sorry, the number you have dialed is not in the service area. Please try again later. A familiar voice came from the phone. Chapter 1096. Lin Yan rubbed her throbbing temples as an ominous feeling arose in her heart. Under normal circumstances, Wang Jingyang might lose contact occasionally, but it would never last more than 24 hours. However, things were different now. This was the first time that Wang Jingyang had lost contact for several days. There was no news at all, as though he had vanished into thin air. Lin Yan sent a message to Wang Jingyang. Which vixen abducted you? Did you get a girlfriend? If you did, bring her back for me to see. I'll help you check. You only care about the opposite sex? If you have a girlfriend, you won't even care about me? Reply when you see her. I need to talk to you. Lin Yan had called Wang Jingyang 7 or 8 times and sent him dozens of text messages in one afternoon. She had called and texted Wang Jingyang at least 100 times since she had lost contact with him for the past few days. However, Lin Yan's calls were like stones sinking into the ocean. There was no response from Wang Jingyang. Although Lin Yan was burning with anxiety, there was nothing she could do. She had known Wang Jingyang for a long time, so she knew that Wang Jingyang had no parents and was alone. She was his only friend. Even if he went missing, no one would notice. Lin Yan wouldn't know who to contact. After pondering for some time, Lin Yan finally dialed the number she hadn't wanted to call. A moment later, Xiaoji's voice was heard. Xiaoyan, what's the matter? Mr. Xiaoji, is Wang Jingyang with you? Asked Lin Yan hastily. Other than herself, Xiaoji was the only person Wang Jingyang was familiar with. During this period of time, Xiaoji came to China. With Wang Jingyang's thick skin, it was possible for him to pester Xiaoji and ask Xiaoji to take him to travel around the world. Yan, what's wrong? Mr. Xiaoji, nothing happened. I just wanted to talk to Wang Jingyang, but I haven't been able to contact him in days, explained Lin Yan. He isn't with me, but you don't have to worry. Nothing will happen to him. Huh? How do you know that nothing will happen to him? Lin Yan was curious. Were the two of them really together? Xiaoji, who hadn't expected this question, was taken aback. Given Wang Jingyang's capabilities, what could possibly happen to him? Of course Xiao Ji couldn't tell Lin Yan this. He merely replied, "Yeah, I guessed. Otherwise, how should I say that I'm sorry for his misfortune?" Lin Yan was speechless. In a certain residence, Xing Chuan almost fainted when he heard his master's words. How could he speak like that? Lin Yan hung up the phone helplessly. Xiao Ji was her last hope. If she wasn't with Xiao Ji, would it be like what Zhang San and Li Si said that day? Si Bai was going to attack the people around her, so he took Wang Jingyang away? Lin Yan clicked on Wang Jingyang's profile picture on her phone and sent him a red packet. When there was no response, Lin Yan sent another 100 yuan and then 1,000 yuan. However, none of the red packets were claimed. Lin Yan drove to Wang Jingyang's apartment. Fumbled under the carpet for the key. Lin Yan knew Wang Jingyang very well. He had always placed the spare key under the carpet in front of the door. Chapter 1097. Although Lin Yan was extremely anxious, she didn't have a good solution. At the moment, it was a fact that Wang Jingyang had gone missing. However, it was still unknown whether Wang Jingyang had been captured by Si Bai or not. However, no matter how Lin Yan thought about it, there was no reason for Wang Jingyang's disappearance. Unless Si Bai had done it, there was no other explanation. Last, there's no need to think about it. It must be that bastard Si Bai, Li Si told Lin Yan. I really didn't expect that bastard Si Bai, who is a high-level evolved being, would actually attack an ordinary person. Kid, how did you offend Si Bai? Why does he hate you so much that he wouldn't hesitate to attack an ordinary person? Zhang San's eyes were filled with curiosity. Lin Yan looked helpless when she heard Zhang San. She didn't know Si Bai at all, so how could she have a feud with him? I don't have a feud with Si Bai, Lin Yan answered truthfully. Kid, you don't have a feud with Si Bai? Zhang San and Li Si were taken aback when they heard Lin Yan. The two brothers exchanged a glance. Kid, tell the truth. How did you offend Si Bai? Zhang San didn't believe Lin Yan's explanation. If there wasn't a deep feud, why would Si Bai cause trouble for Lin Yan so many times and even capture an ordinary person? I really don't have a feud. He said that I owe him money. Lin Yan sighed. You owe Si Bai money? Zhang San and Li Si were taken aback when they heard that. So, after all this time, there was a financial dispute between the two of them? However, it was only right and proper for one to repay a debt, right? How much do you owe him? Li Si asked. He said that I owe him 10 billion yuan, Lin Yan replied instinctively. When Lin Yan said 10 billion yuan, Zhang San and Li Si's expressions changed instantly. They stood up at the same time. How much? 10 billion yuan. Is it the 10 billion yuan that we usually know? Or is it 10 billion yuan from the Heaven and Earth Bank? Lin Yan was speechless. It should be 10 billion yuan, replied Lin Yan. Zhang San and Li Si gasped as they stared at Lin Yan in shock. I say, kid, you owe us too much. Do you know how much we two brothers' monthly wages are? 10 billion. 10 billion. Zhang San exclaimed. Brother, what does this have to do with our salaries? This little girl is clearly in the wrong. As the saying goes, it's only right to repay a debt. Since she owes Si Bai so much, she should return it to him. Li Si frowned. Hearing that, Zhang San nodded. Yes. You're right. If you owe money, you have to pay it back. I say, why would Si Bai find trouble with an ordinary person because of you? It's 10 billion yuan. If it were me, I would kill anyone who owes me so much money and doesn't give it to me, let alone an ordinary person. Last, this is your problem. Why didn't you say so earlier that you owe him so much money? Let me tell you, you'd better return 10 billion yuan to Si Bai obediently, Li Si said to Lin Yan. Lin Yan glanced at Zhang San and Li Si in shock. Were these two brothers even speaking human language? 10 billion yuan? Si Bai's money? She wouldn't be able to afford it even if she sold herself. Chapter 1098. Hold on. Who owes Si Bai 10 billion yuan? Lin Yan frowned. Didn't you just say that you owe Si Bai 10 billion yuan? It's not from the Heaven and Earth Bank. It's a regular 10 billion yuan? Zhang San quipped. Lin Yan replied solemnly, Si Bai said that I owe him 10 billion yuan. I don't even know this person. How could I borrow money from him? Besides, does he have that much money to lend me? He's obviously extorting me. No, he's trying to blackmail me. After the two brothers looked at each other, Zhang San was the first to speak. Oh, I understand. What you mean is that you don't know Si Bai at all. Si Bai said that you owe him 10 billion yuan. That's a fabrication. Yes, that must be it. Or maybe he recognized the wrong person, quipped Lin Yan. That can't be. Si Bai, that B*****, is so arrogant to extort 10 billion yuan. He has to look at you first. You don't look like a rich person, quipped Li Si. Yeah. Lin Yin nodded repeatedly. Look, I don't look like a rich person. Lin Yin stood up and pointed at her shirt. I bought it from a street stall. It cost 99 yuan. She then pointed at her pants and shoes. I bought it online. It added up to 150 yuan. If I had that much money, I would just stay at home and wait to die. Why would I start a team to earn money? I'm not that free. Then according to what you said, he might have recognized the wrong person? Zhang San asked thoughtfully. Although Si Bai was very rich, it was impossible for him to lend 10 billion yuan so casually. How much money did Si Bai have? Seniors, I suspect that my friend was kidnapped by Si Bai. Can you help me find Si Bai? Lin Yin asked anxiously. The most important thing now wasn't to recognize the wrong person or borrow 10 billion yuan. First, she had to find Wang Jingyang or rescue him from Si Bai. After all, this matter had started because of him. Lin Yin couldn't let Wang Jingyang fall into danger because of her, even though he might already be in danger. Little girl, it's not a problem to find Si Bai, but are you sure? If I help you find Si Bai, wouldn't you be walking into a trap? Asked Zhang San. Lin Yin grinned and replied, it's fine. Just help me find him. Lin Yin didn't take Si Bai seriously. He was merely a defeated opponent who had been defeated by her twice. What was there to be afraid of? I don't think this is good. It's easy to alert the enemy. Si Bai must have captured your friend for you. He must have a purpose. I believe Si Bai will contact you soon, Li Si said after some thought. Lin Yin was startled when she heard that. These two brothers. Why did they suddenly become enlightened and have a brain today? It wasn't their style. Lin Yin had been too preoccupied with Wang Jingyang's disappearance and had neglected many things. Li Si was right. If Wang Jingyang had really been captured by Si Bai, then Si Bai would definitely contact him. During this period of time, Wang Jingyang should be relatively safe. However, Lin Yin had to make some preparations. What if Si Bai did not contact her, or if he only captured the people around him because he wanted to take revenge on her? Lin Yin immediately set a deadline. 3 days. If Si Bai didn't contact her within 3 days, she could only dig a hole for Si Bai to jump into and force him to reveal Wang Jingyang's whereabouts. Chapter 1099. Lin Yin pondered for a moment and came up with a plan. Just as the two brothers, Zhang San and Li Si, had said before, it was not wise to find Si Bai at this time and play hard with him. Even if she found Si Bai, she had to take him down in one fell swoop. She couldn't let him escape. However, Lin Yin hadn't had such a record in her previous 2 encounters. Lin Yin hadn't been able to make Si Bai stay, especially the second time. She had been ambushed by Si Bai. According to Wang Jingyang, Si Bai had run away before she had fainted. If he continued to fight with Si Bai this time and let him escape again, Si Bai would be furious and vent his anger on Wang Jingyang. If he accidentally killed Wang Jingyang, it wouldn't be good. Seniors, do you know what Si Bai's hobbies are? Lin Yan's gaze landed on Zhang San and Li Si as she asked softly. We aren't familiar with Si Bai. Zhang San shook his head. Since we aren't familiar with him, how could we know his hobbies? I know, brother. I know. Suddenly Li Si's eyes lit up. You know? Zhang San was startled. Let me tell you. Don't tell anyone. The branch president said that. Si Bai, that bastard, loves to ask girls out. Li Si replied. Ask girls out? What do you mean? Why would he ask a girl out? Zhang San was puzzled. I heard that he brings a girl to a hotel to spend the night. She has to be a beautiful girl. Li Si grinned. Zhang San glared at him. Si Bai, that bastard. That bastard. I'm so envious. Lin Yin was speechless. Li Si was speechless. Zhang San frowned when he saw Lin Yin and Li Si looking at him strangely. No. I mean, I'm envious of that girl. Lin Yin studied Zhang San with a strange expression. This old man's interests were really unique. Wasn't his taste a little too heavy? Li Si exclaimed. Huh? Brother, you. No. I'm not envious of that girl. I'm confused by all of you. Actually, what I mean is that I'm envious of these young people. They can spend the night anywhere. Unlike me, I can't sleep in an unfamiliar place. Hearing this, Li Si had a puzzled look on his face. Home and bed? Brother, that can't be right. We often go out on missions and it's normal for us to be away for a month or 2. I see that you sleep earlier than anyone else every day, and you sleep more soundly than anyone else. Impudent? Zhang San glared at Li Si fiercely. What do you know? You eat more than anyone else and work less than anyone else. You can't do anything. Shut up. Lin Yin was speechless. Tell me about Si Bai's hobbies first, Lin Yin replied helplessly. Si Bai also likes to gamble? Li Si said, beautiful girls and gambling. There doesn't seem to be anything else. Lin Yin fell into deep thought. Gambling money wasn't important. What was important was where to find a pretty girl. If that doesn't work, we can set up a bet and use a honey trap, Lin Yin said thoughtfully. That sounds good. The bet is simple, but where can I find a beauty? Zhang San's eyes darted to Lin Yin before he averted his gaze. Lin Yin was speechless. Why was Zhang San looking at her with such disdain? Before Lin Yin could reply, she received a text from Xiao Yao. Come to my office. After Zhang San and Li Si got off work, Lin Yin headed to Xiao Yao's office. Lin Yan's eyes lit up when she saw Xiao Yao. Chapter 1100. Xiao Yao, who was sitting in his office, couldn't help but frown when he saw Lin Yin striding to his side and looking at him with sparkling eyes. Is there something on my face? Xiao Yao asked softly as he gazed at Lin Yin. Lin Yin shook her head and nodded. Boss, I realize that you're really handsome today. If she wasn't confident of taking down Si Bai, how about adding Xiao Yao to the mix? Although Lin Yin wasn't sure about Xiao Yao's evolution, she was certain that he wouldn't be low. In fact, he might even surpass her. If Xiao Yao was willing to help, why would he need to resort to a honey trap? He would just get Zhang San and Li Si to trick Si Bai out. Then she and Xiao Yao would definitely be able to take down that B***TCH. Handsome? Xiao Yao was puzzled when he heard Lin Yin. What do you mean? Nothing. Boss, can I discuss something with you? Lin Yin glanced at Xiao Yao and chuckled softly. Xiao Yao glanced at Lin Yin. I asked you to come because I have some work to arrange. Aren't you putting the cart before the horse? Lin Yin was speechless. All right, what is it? I'll finish it as soon as possible. Lin Yin nodded. However, although the company was huge, Lin Yin hadn't seen any customers yet. Did such a huge company really not need to do business to make a profit? That was too strange. It's a translation job, but there's no hurry. You can tell me about it first, said Xiao Yao. Boss, a friend of mine was captured by a powerful evolved being. I want to capture that evolved being and force him to reveal my friend's whereabouts, said Lin Yin hastily. Okay, go ahead. I'll give you a few days off, Xiao Yao replied calmly. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. Was this fellow serious? If she was confident, why would she need his help? What's more, what she lacked was fake. Boss, the evolved being who kidnapped my friend is at a high level. I'm afraid that I won't be able to take him down alone, so... Lin Yin glanced at Xiao Yao awkwardly. Xiao Yao studied Lin Yin thoughtfully. So you plan to give up on your friend and ignore his life? Lin Yin was speechless. For some reason, Xiao Ji's image surfaced in Lin Yan's mind as she looked at Xiao Yao. The way they spoke was really similar and they both had the surname Xiao. Could they be long-lost brothers? No. I'm such a loyal person. How could I not save my friend? What I mean is that I'm not confident that I can defeat Si Bai, so I want your help. Lin Yin grinned at Xiao Yao. You want my help? Xiao Yao was slightly stunned. Why should I help you deal with an evolver with a high evolutionary level? Lin Yin was taken aback. She hadn't thought of a reason. Why should I make enemies for you? Do you think that's reasonable? Xiao Yao asked. Because... Lin Yin fell into deep thought. What? Xiao Yao asked. Because... Lin Yin was in a dilemma. Xiao Yao was right. Why would he want to make an enemy out of her? It didn't make sense. Because we're friends. Is that what you want to say? Xiao Yao stared at Lin Yin. Instinctively, Lin Yin nodded. I can accept this reason. I can help you, Xiao Yao replied calmly. Lin Yin was speechless. Chapter 1101. Lin Yin stared at Xiao Yao in bewilderment. Was he making fun of her? However, Xiao Yao didn't seem like he was teasing her on purpose. He looked serious. It seems like the person who was kidnapped is a very important friend of yours, Xiao Yao replied calmly. Lin Yin, who was taken aback, glanced at Xiao Yao in surprise. Boss, how did you know? Because you're very anxious. You're so anxious that you can't even think of a reason for me to help you, Xiao Yao replied expressionlessly. Lin Yin was speechless. Was he serious? Tell me the whole story. Who is your friend? Who is the evolved being who kidnapped your friend? Asked Xiao Yao. Lin Yin perked up and said, My friend's name is Wang Jingyang. He's just an ordinary person. Who did you say your friend is? Xiao Yao frowned. He's an ordinary person, Lin Yin explained. I didn't ask you if he's an ordinary person. I asked you what his name is, Xiao Yao replied. His name is Wang Jingyang. It means wolf when a dog barks, Jing as in scenery and Yang as in sunshine, Lin Yin replied truthfully. Wang Jingyang? Xiao Yao sat in his office chair and spun it around to look at the scenery outside the window. A friend of Xiao Ji's. Is that his name? Xiao Yao was deep in thought. Xiao Yao remembered that Lin Yan had a close friend overseas. He looked like an ordinary person, but his power as an evolved being was unfathomable. Furthermore, he seemed to have a good relationship with Xiao Ji. Could that person be Wang Jingyang? An evolved being with unfathomable power had been kidnapped? That didn't seem realistic. Who kidnapped your friend? Xiao Yao pressed on. The person who kidnapped my friend is Si Bai. He's a powerful evolved being. Besides, I heard that he has a relationship with a senior executive of the Hunters Guild. Lin Yan had to tell Xiao Yao everything she knew, including the fact that Si Bai had a relationship with a senior executive of the Hunters Guild. If she hid this matter, Xiao Yao might offend the Hunters Guild. Hence, it was up to Xiao Yao whether he was willing to help or not. Boss, I have to make it clear in advance. If you help me, you might offend the Hunters Guild, so... Lin Yan sighed. Si Bai? Xiao Yao raised his brows again. Are you sure it was Si Bai who kidnapped Wang Jingyang? Given Si Bai's evolved level, was it possible for him to kidnap Lin Yan's friend, who had been inseparable from her when she was abroad? Furthermore, even if Wang Jingyang was in a weakened state and had lost his rationality, the most likely outcome would be to severely injure Si Bai. It was impossible for him to let Si Bai kidnap him. Of course, there were two other possibilities. One was that he had made a mistake back then. Perhaps Lin Yan's friend wasn't as strong as he had expected. Besides, he hadn't gone through the period of weakness and his evolution had regressed. That wasn't impossible. There's a 99% chance that it's him, replied Lin Yan. Xiao Yao. After a moment, Xiao Yao said, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Disappointment filled Lin Yan's eyes, but she didn't blame Xiao Yao. After all, Si Bai was related to the higher-ups of the Hunters Guild, so Xiao Yao had his own concerns. I'm not afraid of the Hunters Guild. Xiao Yao seemed to have guessed what Lin Yan was thinking. Boss, who are you? Lin Yan was puzzled. Chapter 1102. Xiao Yao stared at Lin Yan for a moment before he asked, Do you still remember? Remember what? Asked Lin Yan. I reminded you not to provoke Si Bai, replied Xiao Yao. Lin Yan was speechless. How could she remember? However, he had reminded her to be careful of Si Bai. Boss, do you know Si Bai? Lin Yan was startled. She could tell what Xiao Yao was implying. A long time ago, Si Bai and I were friends, Xiao Yao told Lin Yan softly. Lin Yan was startled when she heard Xiao Yao. What had he said? He was friends with Si Bai. Isn't this world a little too small? Her boss was actually friends with Si Bai, who had kidnapped his friend, and she had actually asked her boss to help her hit his friend. However, Lin Yan quickly grasped another detail. If she hadn't heard wrongly, Xiao Yao had said that they had been friends a long time ago. They had been friends in the past. Boss, what's your relationship with Si Bai now? Asked Lin Yan curiously. It doesn't matter now, but we still have a past relationship. It's not convenient for me to attack Si Bai, replied Xiao Yao. Lin Yan pondered for a moment before she nodded. Boss, it's okay. I can understand. However, although it's not convenient for me to attack Si Bai, I can help you and provide you with everything you need. As long as I don't do anything, everything will be fine, said Xiao Yao. Lin Yan's eyes lit up as she hurriedly said, Boss, since you and Si Bai used to be friends, can you contact him and ask him to let my friend go? I really don't have a feud with him. It was all a misunderstanding. He insisted that I owed him 10 billion yuan. 10 billion yuan? Xiao Yao was taken aback. Why did you lend him so much money? Lin Yan was speechless. I don't even know him. How could I have any financial dealings with him? If I really had 10 billion yuan, would I have worked for you? Lin Yan glanced at Xiao Yao helplessly. Xiao Yao, Zhang San and Li Si had the same reaction. They thought too highly of her. They were borrowing 10 billion yuan, not 100 yuan. She was willing to lend it, but would anyone lend it to her? Forget it. I don't want to know the reason. It has nothing to do with me. Xiao Yao said, You just told me to contact Si Bai and let your friend go. Yeah. Lin Yan nodded. It would be great if this could solve the problem. I can do that, but you have to be mentally prepared. If Si Bai doesn't agree, this will alert the enemy, Xiao Yao said. Lin Yan was speechless. After thinking about it carefully, he decided to forget it. Xiao Yao's words made sense. If Xiao Yao's reputation was not that great, Wang Jingyang would suffer. Boss, I've asked around before. Si Bai is a gambler, and you also like to make friends with beautiful women, right? Xiao Yao said. Lin Yan grinned. I guess so. What do you want? Xiao Yao asked. Lin Yan replied without hesitation, "Boss, since you can't do it, I will think of a way to poison his food and drink. I will knock him out and make him lose his ability to fight. Then I will interrogate him about my friend's whereabouts." Chapter 1103. Lin Yan was in a dilemma when she heard Xiao Yao. She couldn't do this or that. Was there no other way? "I have another idea." Lin Yan's eyes flickered as she stared at Xiao Yao. "Speak," replied Xiao Yao. "A honey trap. As long as we get close to Xi Bai, we can find a chance to poison him." Lin Yan grinned. "That's feasible, but where is the beauty?" Xiao Yao blurted out instinctively. Lin Yan was speechless. She was wrong. Xiao Yao wasn't Xiao Ji's long-lost brother. He was Zhang San and Li Xi's long-lost brother. "What do you think of me?" Lin Yan pointed at herself. "Where's the beauty? She's clearly right in front of you, okay? Where are these people's eyes?" Xiao Yao's gaze landed on Lin Yan's face as he replied calmly, "You only account for half of the word beauty." The corners of Lin Yan's mouth curled up. "Beauty?" Xiao Ji shook his head and replied softly, "Human?" Lin Yan was speechless. She knew a skilled ophthalmologist. Should she introduce him to Zhang San, Li Xi, and Xiao Yao? Lin Yan suddenly missed Pei Yuqing very much. If only Pei Yuqing was here. If she and Pei Yuqing worked together, they would definitely be able to take down Xi Bai easily. She didn't know how Pei Yuqing was doing in the Pei family, so she didn't want to distract him at this critical juncture. "Boss, do you have a way to prevent Xi Bai from recognizing me?" Lin Yan asked Xiao Yao. "Yes, and it's very simple. I can use mental interference. Even if you appear in front of him, he won't recognize you," replied Xiao Yao. "Impressive?" Lin Yan gave Xiao Yao a thumbs up. "All right, it's decided then?" Lin Yan replied confidently. "Decide what?" Xiao Yao was puzzled. "Boss, use mental interference. As long as Xi Bai doesn't recognize me, I can use a honey trap and find an opportunity to poison him," replied Lin Yan. "I refuse," Xiao Yao replied without hesitation. "Anyone can use a honey trap, but you can't?" "I can't?" Lin Yan was so angry that she burst out laughing. He was looking down on her. Besides, Xiao Yao could use mental interference to make Xi Bai think that she was beautiful. "I said no." "If you insist, I won't help you," replied Xiao Yao. Lin Yan was speechless. Sure enough, he had no choice but to lower his head when he was under the eaves. "I already have a plan. I will invite Xi Bai to participate in the gambling house and arrange a girl in the gambling house. Just leave the honey trap to her, and she will complete the mission of poisoning Xi Bai. As for you, you just need to follow me," said Xiao Yao. Lin Yan nodded. That was a good idea. Xiao Yao had arranged a gambling house. With Xi Bai's gambling addiction, he would definitely participate. Xi Bai would definitely take a fancy to a beautiful woman at the gambling house. Everything was going according to plan. "Hold on. Aren't you taking things for granted? What if Xi Bai doesn't like the girl you arranged for him?" Lin Yan frowned. "Then there's no other way," Xiao Yao said expressionlessly. Lin Yan sighed heavily. Why did she feel so unreliable? Besides, given Xiao Yao's temper, would he really have any friends? "Go back and wait for my news. I will bring the girl over tomorrow. You can meet her and discuss the specific plan," Xiao Yao said. Lin Yan nodded, thinking that it would be good to meet her. At the very least, she would know what to do. Besides, she had to thank this girl for her help. Chapter 1104. The next day in Xiao Yao's office, when it was time to meet Xiao Yao, Lin Yan pushed the door open and entered. In the office, a beautiful young girl was sitting in Xiao Yao's seat. When the girl saw Lin Yan, she stood up and smiled at her. "You must be Miss Lin Yan?" Lin Yan nodded and scrutinized the girl. She had to admit that the girl in front of her was very outstanding. If she were to enter the entertainment industry, she would definitely be a fairy. Lin Yan guessed that this girl should be the main character of Xiao Yao's honey trap. Her appearance was impeccable, and she could indeed be considered a beauty. "Where's boss?" Lin Yan realized that there was no one else in the office. "Boss? Oh, you're talking about Sir. Sir brought the members of the Aurora team to training early in the morning. He should be taking them to lunch now." The girl grinned. "He brought my team to training?" Lin Yan was startled when she heard that. With Xiao Yao's skills, how could he bring those professional team members to training? What was he thinking? Who gave him the courage? If Xiao Yao was allowed to train, wouldn't the Aurora team be crippled? Before Lin Yan could reply, she heard footsteps outside. A few seconds later, the door opened and Xiao Yao walked in. "You're here." Xiao Yao's gaze landed on Lin Yan as he spoke softly. "Sir, Miss Lin Yan just arrived," said the girl. "Boss, did you bring the team members to training?" Lin Yan's gaze landed on Xiao Yao, which was a little strange. Yeah, replied Xiao Yao. How was the training? Lin Yan smiled awkwardly. It was all right, replied Xiao Yao. Under my guidance, the team members improved greatly. Lin Yan was speechless. Was he serious when he said that? Who were those people? They were all famous professional racers in the country. Any one of them could be Xiao Yao's mentor. In the end, he had brought the entire team to training and boasted that they had improved greatly under his guidance. Boss Xiao Yao, your racing skills are amazing. You're comparable to the racetrack's Grim Reaper, Yeva. Before Lin Yan could reply, Qi Feng and the rest of the team members walked in. All of them had inexplicable smiles on their faces. Sister, you're here too. He Lufeng glanced at Lin Yan. Lin Yan was speechless. Who was the one who had said that Xiao Yao's racing skills were comparable to Yeva's? Please step forward and slap him in the face. How could he say that? Boss Xiao Yao, you're really amazing. Do you have time tomorrow? How about we continue training? One of the members of the Aurora team looked at Xiao Yao and smiled. That's right. Ever since I trained with Boss Xiao Yao today, I suddenly feel that my strength has improved unprecedentedly. Boss Xiao Yao's understanding of racing is really amazing. No one can compare to his level of detail. Listening to him is better than studying for 10 years. Xiao Yao glanced at them and replied expressionlessly, we don't have time for the next 2 days. You guys can train with Lin Yan first. Lin Yan? Boss Xiao Yao, how can Miss Lin Yan compare to you? The two of you are worlds apart in terms of understanding and control of the team. You are like the bright moon and a firefly. How can you be compared? The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. What was wrong with these people? Chapter 1105. How could they belittle her and praise Xiao Yao? Besides, had these people trained with her? Since they hadn't, how could they say that? That's right. Boss Xiao Yao, my sister is far inferior to you. He Lufeng chimed in hastily. Yes. My goddess isn't on the same level as you. Mo Shuyan chimed in. Lin Yan was speechless. Are you blind? Lin Yan glanced at them. Are you sure that Boss's racing skills are better than Yeva's? Qi Feng suddenly jumped out. Of course. Boss Xiao Yao's racing skills are unprecedented. You don't understand at all. That's right, Miss Lin Yan. What do you know? Boss Xiao Yao's racing skills are beyond our comprehension. One of the Aurora team members chimed in. Lin Yan was dumbfounded. What had happened? Do you think that my racing skills aren't as good as Yeva's? Suddenly Xiao Yao's eyes landed on Lin Yan, looking displeased. Before Lin Yan could respond, Xiao Yao took a stamp out of his drawer. Lin Yan's pupils constricted when she saw the stamp. This, even Mo Shuyun, Qi Feng and the others stared intently at the stamp. The father of racing's limited edition stamp? Lin Yan was shocked as she blurted out in disbelief. F***CK. This stamp is too terrifying. Compared to this, the stamp that Boss Xiao Yao gave us just now is nothing. Qi Feng blurted out anxiously. Lin Yan was startled when she heard that. So, these people were bragging here because Xiao Yao had given them some limited stamps of the father of racing? The father of racing stamp was a limited edition stamp used to commemorate the father of racing in the last century. There were less than 100 of them in the world and each one was extremely precious. The stamp in Xiao Yao's hand was extremely precious. This kind of stamp was worthless to people who didn't like racing, but it was extremely precious to professional racers like them. Boss Xiao Yao gave everyone a stamp of the father of racing to commemorate the establishment of our team, said Qi Feng. Is that all you've got? Lin Yan glanced at Qi Feng and the others and replied coldly, it's just a stamp. What's there to say? What's important is the technique. It's your good fortune that Boss can train you. Boss's racing skills are enough for you to learn for the rest of your lives. Are stamps more important than the skills Boss teaches you? Everyone was dumbfounded when they heard her. How could this woman change her attitude so quickly? Just a moment ago there were 7 people who were not convinced, 8 people who were not convinced and 8 people who were not convinced, but in the blink of an eye, they started to quarrel with them? Yeah, that's right. Miss Lin Yan said exactly what I wanted to say. Are stamps important? No, it's mainly Boss Xiao Yao's racing skills and experience. Sigh, what a pity. If Boss Xiao Yao were to take action personally, why would we need to participate in the 3rd division? We could directly go to the 1st division and casually take 1st place. Qi Feng said seriously. Isn't that obvious? Even the racetrack's Grim Reaper, Yeva, would have to learn from you. Lin Yan nodded vigorously. The corners of He Lufeng's mouth twitched as he turned to Lin Yan. He had thought that they were already very good at sucking up to her. Compared to his sister, they were still lacking. Lin Yan's eyes were fixed on the stamp in Xiao Yao's hand. Chapter 1106. This is for you. Xiao Yao passed the stamp to Lin Yan. Boss, I'm so sorry. Lin Yan grinned as she accepted the stamp. The father of racing stamp in his hand was genuine. It had been around 150 years since it was issued. SD was Lin Yan's idol. Back when she had been overseas, she had tried to get a stamp for him. However, there had been no news of it. Lin Yan hadn't expected that Xiao Yao would have a set of the father of racing stamps. The one in her hand was especially precious. Is this valuable? The girl beside Xiao Yao studied the stamp curiously. It's worth a penny to you, but it's very precious to us. Qifeng smiled. These stamps weren't worth much, but they held a special meaning for racers. Any racer with such a stamp would be able to brag about themselves in the future. If there's nothing else, please head back first. I still have work to do, said Xiao Yao. Okay. Boss, you're busy? When you're free, you must bring us to train and spur us on. Qifeng nodded. After everyone left, Xiao Yao glanced at Lin Yan. She is the main character of your honey trap. Her name is Rainbow. Hello, Miss Rainbow. Lin Yan smiled at the girl. Miss Lin Yan, you're being too polite. You can just call me Little Rainbow, replied Rainbow. When do you think we should ask Sibai out? Xiao Yao asked Lin Yan. How about tonight? Asked Lin Yan. There had been no news of Wang Jingyang, so Lin Yan was worried. Sibai had to appear as soon as possible. If he was late, Lin Yan was afraid that Wang Jingyang would be in danger. Can I, Miss Rainbow? Lin Yan's eyes trailed to Rainbow. Rainbow grinned and replied, Miss Lin Yan, don't worry. I will definitely satisfy you. Lin Yan was speechless. It was useless to satisfy her. Sibai, that bastard, must be satisfied. Do you think Sibai will like her? Xiao Yao asked Lin Yan. Lin Yan nodded repeatedly. If I were Sibai, I would definitely like him. Xiao Yao didn't say anything. Instead, he called Sibai and gestured for them to keep quiet. Speak. Soon, Sibai's voice came from the phone. There's a bet. Do you want to play? Xiao Yao said indifferently. As Xiao Yao said the word bet, Sibai's voice was clearly filled with great interest. Gambling house. What kind of gambling house? How many people are there? How are we going to play? There aren't many people, but there's a lot of money, said Xiao Yao. Xiao Yao, since when did you like gambling? I don't remember you having such a hobby. Play or don't play, Xiao Yao said impatiently. Of course I'll play. Just send me the time and place. I'll be there anytime. See you later. Lin Yan's expression was odd as she watched Xiao Yao hang up. Wasn't it too simple? Sibai is a gambler, right? Rainbow said from the side. He just likes to gamble, but he rarely wins. Perhaps he is obsessed with winning, Xiao Yao said. You rarely win? Lin Yan was curious. That's right. I've never heard of him winning before. He might win once or twice out of 100 bets, said Xiao Yao. Lin Yan was astonished. This is the legendary boy of wealth? You can understand it that way. Xiao Yao nodded. I've decided. Suddenly Lin Yan gritted her teeth. I want to participate in this bet too. I'll help you make up the numbers. End of this chapter. Chapter 1107. That's what I plan to do, replied Xiao Yao. Alright. Then what should we bet on? I don't know anything else. Can we play Fight the Landlord? Asked Lin Yan curiously. It should be possible. As long as it's a gamble, Sibai doesn't care, replied Xiao Yao. Lin Yan grinned as she felt more confident. She had never lost at Fight the Landlord. Xiao Yao's gaze landed on Lin Yan. He seemed to have guessed what Lin Yan was thinking. He frowned and said, This bet is for Rainbow to successfully use a honey trap. He wants Sibai to take the bait and force him to reveal the whereabouts of your friend. It's not for you to win money. Lin Yan was speechless. Xiao Yao had seen through her little scheme in an instant. Boss, how many people do you need? Do we have enough manpower? Lin Yan ignored this question and asked Xiao Yao. You can bring more people, but it's best if they are ordinary people. Too many evolved beings might arouse Sibai's suspicion, said Xiao Yao. Lin Yan was in a dilemma. There didn't seem to be such a person around her. Wang Jingyang wasn't around. Should she bring He Lufeng over? In the evening. In a villa in the suburbs, He Lufeng, who was following Lin Yan, couldn't help but sigh. Sister, our boss is too extravagant. Isn't he afraid of living alone in such a big house? Lin Yan glanced at He Lufeng and quipped, Do you want to discuss with him about letting you stay with him? Sure. He Lufeng nodded hurriedly. I think so. I can cook for our boss when I'm free. The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. How could her brother be so thick-skinned? Who had he learned this from? Cut the crap. Have you remembered what I told you? Don't call me sister when you go in. Pretend that you don't know me? Lin Yan told He Lufeng. Sister, look at my shrewd face. Are you still worried about me? He Lufeng smiled. Don't forget that I was the one who pretended to be the boss to save you when you were being chased by Zhang San and Li Si. Lin Yan was speechless. Although she wanted to retort, she couldn't. That was the truth. Initially, Lin Yan hadn't planned to bring He Lufeng along. However, this fellow had been standing outside Xiao Yao's office. He Lufeng had overheard her conversation with Xiao Yao, so he had insisted on coming along. Feeling helpless, Lin Yan had no choice but to bring him along. He Lufeng had already known about evolved beings ever since Zhang San and Li Si had chased after her. Lin Yan hadn't hidden it from him. Sister, this is too exciting. Do you think I can become an evolved being? Sister, you're an evolved being. That means that our family has such genes. I think I might not have awakened yet. He Lufeng grabbed Lin Yan's wrist excitedly. Before Lin Yan could respond, He Lufeng added excitedly, Sister, don't worry. After I awaken and become an evolved being, no one will dare to bully you anymore. When that time comes, you can enjoy life at home. I'll give you a mountain of gold and silver. Lin Yan frowned at He Lufeng. Are you planning to rob a bank? Can't I? He Lufeng was taken aback. I've already become an evolved being and have superpowers. What can't I do? Of course you can. Lin Yan grinned. The Hunters Guild will issue a wanted order for you the next day. End of this chapter. Chapter 1108. The Headquarters of the Hunters Guild? He Lufeng, who was slightly taken aback by Lin Yan's question, asked in confusion, What is that for? I heard that the headquarters of the Hunters Guild is filled with high-level evolved beings who specialize in hunting evolved beings like you, explained Lin Yan. He Lufeng sneered coldly. What a joke. If I awaken and become an evolved being, why would I be afraid of the Hunters Guild? Of course I wouldn't rob a bank. Am I that petty? I should maintain world peace. Of course, I'm definitely not afraid of the Hunters Guild. Lin Yan was speechless. I don't think you'll be able to become an evolved being in this lifetime, said Lin Yan. He Lufeng was disappointed. Sister, why? Didn't you say that you were able to become an evolved being because you were brought into a laboratory? Why don't you contact the laboratory and capture me to conduct a study? Lin Yan was speechless. Without giving He Lufeng a chance to retort, Lin Yan dragged him into the mansion. Xiao Yao, Rainbow, and the others were already in the villa. Other than the two of them, there were also two middle-aged men in suits and leather collars. Lin Yan sized up the two middle-aged men, who didn't look like evolved beings. Xiao Yao, I think this little beauty is more suitable to be the protagonist of a honey trap than Rainbow. One of the middle-aged men, who was wearing glasses, glanced at Lin Yan and chuckled softly. Ahaha, I think so too. Rainbow, you won't be angry, right? Asked the other middle-aged man. Rainbow chuckled softly. Of course not. Sister Lin Yan is indeed much prettier than me. Xiao Yao, are you interested in Miss Lin Yan? Otherwise, why didn't you ask her to use a honey trap on Sibai? I think Sibai will definitely take the bait. Xiao Yao glanced at the two of them. Sibai knows her. Haha. So what if he knows her? Given your methods, Sibai shouldn't be able to recognize her if you use your consciousness. Shut up, Xiao Yao hissed coldly. Boss, who are these two? Lin Yan glanced at Xiao Yao curiously. These two middle-aged men did not seem to be evolvers, but they seemed to know a lot about evolvers. Haha. Miss Lin Yan, you might not know this, but we used to be very powerful evolved beings. We are also Xiao Yao's old friends, said the bespectacled middle-aged man. Evolver? Lin Yan was startled. It didn't seem like it. It has degenerated. Sibai seemed to have sensed Lin Yan's confusion as he explained. Degeneration. Lin Yan fell into deep thought. Pei Yuqing had told her that when an evolved being reached a certain level, there would be a period of weakness and collapse. If they could endure it, then the strength of the evolver would be greatly enhanced, and they would enter the next stage of evolution. Otherwise, they would degenerate and become an ordinary person again. As for the two middle-aged men in front of them, they did not survive the period of weakness, so they degenerated into ordinary people. What a pity, replied Lin Yan. Sigh, it's not a pity at all. One of the middle-aged men chuckled. Being invincible is also a kind of loneliness. Degenerating into an ordinary person, enjoying an ordinary life, doing some business and having endless money to spend. You don't have to worry about being killed by other evolved beings, and you don't have to continue enduring the pain of being weak. This is simply great. Lin Yan was speechless. The main point of doing business was to have endless money to spend. End of this chapter. Chapter 1109. Lin Yan didn't know the two middle-aged men, but since Xiao Yao had brought them here, they shouldn't be a problem. Hence Lin Yan didn't mind. Are the two of you here to participate in the gamble? Yi Lufeng, who was standing behind Lin Yan, sized them up and grinned. One of the middle-aged men turned to Yi Lufeng and said, "Little brother, you're right. Xiao Yao asked us to participate in the gamble. We know how to play poker and mahjong." Yi Lufeng nodded and instinctively said, "He's an old gambler." As soon as Yi Lufeng finished speaking, everyone's eyes landed on him. Lin Yan glanced at Yi Lufeng. What had she been thinking? Why had she brought this idiot along? Yi Lufeng seemed to realize something and smiled awkwardly. "What I mean is that I can tell that the two of you are proficient in all kinds of gambling techniques. You must be cheating experts, the kind that can't be detected by the surveillance cameras." The bespectacled middle-aged man looked slightly displeased. He didn't flare up on account of Xiao Yao. "Little brother, what do you mean? Why did you say that we are cheating?" "Haha. We were just playing because we were free. If we lost, we lost. If we won, we won. It's not like we can't afford to lose. Why would we cheat?" the other man quipped. Yi Lufeng scratched his head awkwardly. He was referring to cheating experts as a compliment, not a derogatory term. Sorry. My brother just woke up and is still in a daze. Please don't mind him." Lin Yan immediately stepped forward to explain. "Miss Lin Yan, you're overthinking. The little brother is straightforward. We won't mind." "Yeah, you're right. I like this little brother's inexperienced manner," said the bespectacled middle-aged man. Lin Yan was speechless. Xiao Yao glanced at Lin Yan and said, "These two are my friends. They didn't participate in today's plan. I just invited them to have some fun. Besides, they don't know Sibai. Behave normally. When Sibai comes, just play with him. Leave the rest to Rainbow." "Alright, I understand." Lin Yan nodded. "Boss Xiao Yao, let me ask you something. Since they want to play, is it real or fake?" asked Yi Lufeng. "He's really having fun," Xiao Yao said. Yi Lufeng asked, "Can I win money?" Xiao Yao glanced at Yi Lufeng and said, "If you have the ability to." "Boss Xiao Yao, if you put it that way, I understand." Yi Lufeng looked a little excited. "One last question. Speak. Who can give me some money? How can I play without money? This is what I'm thinking. Boss, you can give me money. If we win, we'll split it equally. If we lose, it's all yours. Is that worth it?" Yi Lufeng hurriedly smiled. "If we lose, it's on me. If we win, we get half. Do you think it's worth it?" Xiao Yao asked. Before Yi Lufeng could retort, Lin Yan pulled him to her side and smiled awkwardly. "I've embarrassed myself. I'll pay for it." "I'll pay for it," the bespectacled man smiled and said, It's okay. I like this little brother's inexperienced look." Lin Yan was speechless. Xiao Yao glanced at his phone and stopped everyone's conversation. "Sibai is already on his way. Rainbow, get ready." Chapter 1110. Before Sibai arrived, everything had been set up. Yi Lufeng took out a mahjong table from the basement and said excitedly, "Let's play mahjong. I'm known as the King of Sparrows." Lin Yan glanced at Yi Lufeng. "You're still playing mahjong? Go ahead and play sparrows. You can't even recognize all of them. I don't have money for you to lose. Sister, you have to believe me. I'm really the King of Sparrows. There's no tile that I can't play. I once played mahjong with 3 old ladies and won them until they cried." Yi Lufeng quipped. "Little brother, I like your inexperienced look. What's so fun about playing mahjong?" The middle-aged man glanced at Lin Yan. "Miss Lin, don't you agree?" Lin Yan nodded without hesitation. "Let's play Fight the Landlord." The smile on the middle-aged man's face gradually froze. The corners of his mouth twitched. Fight the Landlord? Wasn't that the game they had played when they were young? "Sister, Fight the Landlord is fine too." Yi Lufeng replied immediately. "I'm known as the King of Sparrows." Lin Yan was speechless. "Sister, believe me. If I were a landlord, there would be no farmer that I couldn't defeat. If I were a farmer, there would be no landlord that I couldn't defeat." Yi Lufeng quipped. Before Lin Yan could speak, Xiao Yao gestured for her to be quiet. In a few seconds, someone knocked on the door. "Is Sibai here?" Lin Yan asked softly. However, Xiao Yao didn't say anything. He walked to the door and opened it. Sibai stood in front of the door and walked into the villa. Everyone's eyes landed on Sibai. Slut. Change money. The macaw on Sibai's shoulder suddenly shouted at Lin Yan. Lin Yan frowned. Did that damn parrot know her? There were so many people in the hall, yet it was shouting at her? Shut up. Si-bai glanced at the macaw. I know her. In Si-bai's eyes, Lin Yan's face was completely unfamiliar. Lin Yan heaved a sigh of relief. She couldn't help but size up Xiao Yao. This ability was way too powerful. Si-bai, let me introduce you. Xiao Yao stood beside Si-bai and pointed at the two middle-aged men. These two are my friends. They like to play in their free time. Si-bai glanced at the two of them and waved his hand. There's no need to introduce me. I'm here to play, not to make friends. But let me say this first. You can play anything, but I won't play. Do you want to play landlord? Lin Yan glanced at Si-bai and asked instinctively. Si-bai's eyes landed on Lin Yan and he sized her up for a long time. How should I address this beautiful lady? Si-bai glanced at Lin Yan. The impatience on his face disappeared and was replaced by a smile. My name is Get Rich Lin, replied Lin Yan. Get rich? Si-bai was slightly taken aback and immediately said, good name. This name is grand and pleasant to the ears. Hello, Mr. Si-bai. My name is Rainbow. I've heard of your name in some casinos. Suddenly, Rainbow stepped forward and blocked Lin Yan's way. She smiled gently at Si-bai. Miss, can you move aside? You're blocking my line of sight and hindering my interaction with Miss Get Rich. Si-bai frowned. End of this chapter. Chapter 11:11. Everyone, including He Lufeng, was startled by Si-bai's words. Seek. He Lufeng, who was flabbergasted, glanced at Rainbow before sneaking a peek at his sister. Oh my god, this is bad. Could this little B***** have taken a liking to my sister? He Lufeng's expression was strange as he pondered this. He Lufeng was a little anxious. Why wasn't this little B**** following the rules? He looked at Rainbow's gentle and affectionate expression. She was really flirtatious while Lin Yan looked silly. Although her sister did seem to have the upper hand in terms of appearance, Si-bai's behavior caught Rainbow off guard. She had thought that everything would go according to plan, but it seemed like Si-bai wasn't interested in her at all. Instead, he was interested in Lin Yan. If that was the case, how should the following plan be carried out step by step? Rainbow had no choice but to look at Xiao Yao quietly, hoping that he could give her some hints. However, Xiao Yao remained expressionless. He still had an ice-cold look on his face. Mr. Si-bai, time is precious. Let's play first. Rainbow grinned. Si-bai, who was startled, replied, You're right. Let's begin. Yes, let's play Fight the Landlord as Miss Get Rich mentioned just now. Si-bai walked to Lin Yan and chuckled softly. Miss Get Rich, I'm not good at Fight the Landlord. You have to show mercy, okay? Bullsh *T. Lin Yan snorted coldly. How could he expect her to show mercy when he was playing cards with her? What kind of joke was this? Even if Pei Yuqing was here, she would make him lose everything. No, there are no fathers and sons in the casino. He Lufeng, who was standing next to Lin Yan, suddenly shouted. Everyone turned to look at He Lufeng. There were no fathers and sons in the casino? Who was the father and who was the son? No. I mean, there are no couples in the casino. No. Anyway, I can't show mercy. Otherwise, who would I win? He Lufeng blurted out anxiously. Who is this? Si-bai glanced at He Lufeng coldly. My brother. Lin Yan sighed. Oh, so it's little brother. The coldness in Si-bai's eyes dissipated, and he said with a smile, Little brother is right. It's a casino. Either I win or you lose. You should be more serious. Can we begin? Xiao Yao said indifferently. We can, but how can we play landlord with 7 people? Asked the middle-aged man wearing glasses. Miss Rainbow is in charge of handing out the cards. As for the remaining 6, we'll split into groups of 3. The first to finish playing their cards will be the winner, said Xiao Yao. All right then. At the table, Rainbow began to deal the cards. Lin Yan, Si-bai, and the bespectacled middle-aged man formed a team, while He Lufeng, Xiao Yao, and another middle-aged man formed another team. Miss Rich, have you had dinner? Si-bai's gaze landed on Lin Yan as he asked softly. Yes, replied Lin Yan. Then Miss Rich, do you mind eating another meal or we can go to the bar for a drink later? Si-bai smiled. Lin Yan was taken aback when she heard that. She looked puzzled. Could it be that Si-bai didn't fancy Rainbow but fancied her instead? This was too obvious. He wanted to take her to dinner and invite her to the bar for a drink. Logically speaking, that shouldn't be the case. Mr. Si-bai, I'm free tonight? Rainbow handed the last card to Si-bai and gently stroked the back of his hand. Go home and sleep if you're free. Si-bai glanced at Rainbow. End of this chapter. Chapter 11-12. Rainbow forced a smile when she heard Si-bai's words, but she felt a little depressed. If this continued, she would definitely not be able to complete the mission that Xiao Yao had given her. At least for now, Si-bai had no interest in her. Si-bai's expression was very obvious. He wasn't interested in her. Instead, he was very interested in Lin Yan. At that moment, Rainbow was a little surprised. Since Si-bai hadn't recognized Lin Yan, it was enough to prove that Xiao Yao's spiritual imprint had worked. In Si-bai's eyes, Lin Yan's appearance should have been replaced by another appearance. Could this be a coincidence? In Si-bai's eyes, Lin Yan happened to be the one he liked? If that was the case, it might be troublesome. During the gambling session, Rainbow tried to get close to Si-bai, but Si-bai refused to budge. He didn't even look at Rainbow. Lin Yan, who was sitting next to Si-bai, had a strange expression on her face. Didn't they say that Si-bai liked beautiful girls? Wasn't Rainbow beautiful enough? Hey, look carefully. 4 aces. I've exploded. There's only one card left. Mr. Si-bai, do you want it? One of the middle-aged men smiled at Si-bai. Si-bai retracted his gaze from Lin Yan and looked at the cards in his hand. Si-bai frowned slightly. How big are we playing this round? Anyway, it's not small. It's several times bigger. The middle-aged man grinned. What? Are you calculating how much money you're going to lose? Si-bai glanced at the man and placed the cards on the table. I can't afford it. Miss Lin Yan, do you want it? Asked the middle-aged man. Lin Yan looked at the cards in her hand with a sullen expression. Oh. Ha ha ha. Everyone, I'm sorry. It seems like we won this round. The middle-aged man's lips curled up as he prepared to throw the last card in his hand. Wait. Suddenly, He Lufeng exclaimed excitedly, I want it. I want it. Little brother, we're on the same side. Are you sure you want to play my cards? The middle-aged man glanced at He Lufeng. Nonsense. Look at what cards I have first. He Lufeng threw a pair of kings on the table. Watch carefully. Double the amount. He Lufeng chuckled. I still have 2 cards left. Is there anyone who can afford it? Lin Yan glared at He Lufeng. No wonder he was her younger brother. He was really digging a hole for her. Wang Bang doubled again. How much money would she lose? No one wants it. I'm going to play. He Lufeng drew out a card. A2. No, I can't afford it. Ha 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 ha. Little brother, you're having a good time. The middle-aged man glanced at He Lufeng in admiration. Did I say that I'm the king of fighters? He Lufeng sneered arrogantly. 4 sevens. Just as He Lufeng was about to throw away his last card, Xiao Yao said softly, It's doubled again. I still have 2 cards left. He Lufeng and the middle-aged man grinned smugly. That was twice as much. Lin Yan gritted her teeth and glanced at Si-bai. This guy was just a money boy. Why was he on the same side as him? Wasn't she helping him give money to others? A3. Xiao Yao threw out a 3. Chapter 11-13. Hold on. What card? The 3? Lin Yan, who had been listless, perked up instantly. He Lufeng and the middle-aged man, who were Xiao Yao's accomplices, froze when they saw Xiao Yao throw out a 3. I bet that you don't have a 4. Xiao Yao stared at Lin Yan. Lin Yan nodded. You made the right bet. However, even though my last card isn't a 4, it's a 7. If I play a 3 against you, how many streets will I be able to chase you? Lin Yan tossed the last little 7 card out. Did you win? Si-bai had obviously come back to his senses. Big brother, do you know how to play cards? The middle-aged man who was with Xiao Yao stood up agitatedly. She only has 1 card left. Why did you play a 3? Can't you play another card? Xiao Yao flipped the last card in his hand and threw it on the table. The last card is also a 3. The middle-aged man, who was startled, scratched his head in frustration. Unfortunately, we were unlucky. If only you hadn't blown it up. He Lufeng stared blankly at the last 3 in Xiao Yao's hand. Then he picked up the 3 that Xiao Yao had thrown out and frowned. Wait a minute, let's think about it. Can't these 2 3s be played at the same time? For example, a pair of 3s? The middle-aged man was startled. He slapped his forehead and glared at Xiao Yao. That's right. Why didn't you throw them all away? Why did you break them apart one by one? Xiao Yao replied expressionlessly, I like it. He Lufeng was speechless. The middle-aged man was speechless. Ha 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 ha. You have to admit defeat. Pay up. Si-bai sneered coldly. Sister, I'm bankrupt. He Lufeng felt like crying. I'm not playing anymore. I'm not playing anymore. Stay away from gambling and cherish my life. I didn't expect that I would be defeated by a useless teammate. He Lufeng felt a chill run down his spine as soon as he said the word useless teammate. He Lufeng glanced at Xiao Yao's cold gaze and glanced at the middle-aged man. It's all your fault. Useless teammate. The middle-aged man, who was originally angry, immediately became furious. Who are you calling a stupid teammate? What does it have to do with me? Isn't it Xiao Yao? After sensing Xiao Yao's cold gaze, the middle-aged man said bitterly, You're right. It's all my fault. Lin Yan was speechless. Pei family, a certain study room. Pei Yuqing slumped against the desk and the book in his hands fell to the ground. Miss Get Rich Lin, we are indeed great partners. It's only the first round and we've already won so much. I'm very happy today. Why don't we go to the bar for a drink tonight? Si Bai glanced at Lin Yan and chuckled softly. Lin Yan was startled. She wanted to speak but she couldn't. It was as though her consciousness had been suppressed, and her body couldn't move. It was so familiar that Lin Yan had an ominous feeling. A second later Lin Yan's eyes snapped open, and a cold glint flashed across them. Miss Get Rich Lin, if you don't want to go to the bar, you can go to my house. I have a collection of rare and expensive red wines that are only reserved for fated people. Do you want to try them at my house? Si Bai glanced at Lin Yan. Lin Yan turned to Si Bai. Are you saying that you want me to go to your house for a drink? Si Bai grinned. Does that mean that Miss Get Rich has agreed? Chapter 11:14. As Si Bai spoke, he gently placed his palm on the back of Lin Yan's hand. Seek. Although Lin Yan couldn't speak or control her body, her consciousness was very clear. However, when she knew that Pei Yuqing was behind her, she felt that something was amiss. Indeed, Si Bai had said something shocking the next second. He had asked her to go to his house for a drink. At this moment it was even more outrageous. He had actually grabbed her hand. In a sense, it wasn't her hand that he had grabbed. Si Bai had grabbed Pei Yuqing's hand. Are you there? Listen to me explain. Lin Yan wanted to cry but no tears came out. Even if she wanted to explain, how could she explain? It was a long story. Lin Yan could communicate directly with Pei Yuqing's consciousness, but Pei Yuqing didn't have the slightest desire to communicate with her. Lin Yan looked at her hand and then at Si Bai's hand. Pei Yuqing's eyes flickered with a bone-chilling glint. Before Pei Yuqing could do anything, He Lufeng leaped to his feet. There was a loud slap. He Lufeng strode forward with a cold expression and slapped Si Bai aside. Who are you? How dare you tease my sister in front of everyone? He Lufeng glared at Si Bai coldly. A second later, Si Bai's eyes landed on He Lufeng. The smile on his face disappeared and was replaced by a gloomy expression. He Lufeng hissed coldly, What are you looking at? Do you think I'm afraid of you? Good brother? Lin Yan was touched. Can't you wait until I can't see before you tease my sister? He Lufeng turned around awkwardly. Alright, I can't see now. Lin Yan was speechless. Miss Get Rich, your brother is really humorous. It's getting late. Why don't we go to my house for a drink? What do you think? Si Bai glanced at Lin Yan again. Sure. Lin Yan replied expressionlessly. Rainbow was astonished. This wasn't going according to the script. Wasn't she the main character of the honey trap? This didn't give her any room to perform. Si Bai's face lit up when he heard that Lin Yan had agreed to his request. That's great. I believe that Miss Fortune will be very satisfied with our wine. Then what are we waiting for? Lin Yan stood up and glanced at Si Bai. Just as Si Bai and Lin Yan were about to leave, Xiao Yao stopped them. We'll play another day. Move aside. Si Bai looked at Xiao Yao. However, Xiao Yao stood where he was and had no intention of moving aside. Take Kai Hong to your house for a drink and give her to me, Xiao Yao said expressionlessly. Lin Yan scrutinized Xiao Yao as soon as he finished speaking. They were quite popular. Xiao Yao, that won't do. I'm not interested in that lady. If you're interested, you can keep her for yourself. Hurry up and get out of the way. Don't delay me from going back to drink with Miss Get Rich, Si Bai said with a sneer. Xiao Yao nodded. Then there's no room for discussion. No discussion, Si Bai said. Since there's no room for discussion, Xiao Yao's gaze gradually turned cold. Then there's no need for discussion, Xiao Yao said indifferently. What do you mean? Si Bai was puzzled. However, before Si Bai could finish his sentence, Xiao Yao's heavy fist smashed into Si Bai's body like a mountain. In an instant, Si Bai was pressed to the ground. Stop acting. It's boring, Xiao Yao said expressionlessly. End of this chapter. Immediately after, a strong gravitational force burst forth, and Si Bai's entire body rose into the air as if he was suspended in mid-air. This is, Si Bai glanced at Lin Yan in surprise. Why didn't you tell me that your friend was captured? Pei Yuqing asked Lin Yan. I was afraid that you would be distracted. I didn't know if you would be in danger in the Pei Corporation, Lin Yan explained. End of this chapter. Chapter 11:16. Pei Yuqing replied, Nothing is more important than you. Lin Yan was speechless. When are you coming back? Asked Lin Yan. However, Pei Yuqing didn't reply. In a few seconds, Lin Yan realized that she had regained control of her body. He left. Lin Yan was stunned when she regained her mobility. Lin Yan realized that Pei Yuqing had appeared suddenly and left without any warning. She had many questions that she hadn't had the time to ask. Miss Lin Yan's ability is very powerful. Before long, two middle-aged men walked over to Lin Yan and sized her up in surprise. The bespectacled middle-aged man seemed to be very interested in Lin Yan's evolved ability. Lin Yan felt a little helpless. She didn't deny that he had praised her, but the evolved ability had nothing to do with her. It belonged to Pei Yuqing and had nothing to do with her. Sister, didn't you say that your body has evolved? How can you still use? Yes, mental power. This is mental power, right? It's too scary. He Lufeng stared at Lin Yan, his eyes filled with excitement. Before Lin Yan could speak, she heard a loud thud as Si Bai fell from the sky and landed on the ground. After Pei Yuqing's consciousness left, his evolved power naturally lost its effect. Si Bai wanted to retaliate, but he was restrained by Xiao Yao. Lin Yan's gaze landed on Xiao Yao. Hadn't he said that Si Bai was his friend and it wasn't convenient for him to attack? How could it be inconvenient for him to attack? He looked like he wanted Si Bai to die immediately. Ah, Xiao Yao, I really fell into your trap. Si Bai, who was suppressed by Xiao Yao, sneered coldly. That's why you've been plotting against me from the beginning. Xiao Yao didn't respond to Si Bai. Instead, he glanced at everyone and said, Thank you, everyone. Rainbow and the two middle-aged men immediately understood the meaning of Xiao Yao's words. We'll leave first then. Xiaofeng, you should go back first. Lin Yan glanced at He Lufeng. Sister, the money I lost tonight? He Lufeng stood at the door and spoke to Lin Yan. Lin Yan was speechless. I'll return it to you when we get back, Lin Yan replied helplessly. Only Lin Yan, Xiao Yao, and Si Bai were left in the mansion. You've set up a trap from the beginning. Tell me what's your motive? Si Bai glanced at Lin Yan and Xiao Yao. This is a matter between the two of you. It has nothing to do with me, Xiao Yao said indifferently. Si Bai, I should be asking you what your problem is. If you have a problem, come at me. Don't harm my friend. Lin Yan glared at Si Bai. What do you mean by harming your friend? Si Bai asked. Si Bai, how is my friend now? Lin Yan frowned. How would I know about your friend? Si Bai sneered. Where did you take my friend? Lin Yan's eyes were icy cold. Who said that I captured your friend? Si Bai glanced at her. I really don't understand what you're talking about. Si Bai, you'd better cooperate. You should be aware of the current situation. I have the final say on your life and death, replied Lin Yan. Even so, I didn't capture your friend, Si Bai said. You didn't capture him? Lin Yan frowned. Of course not. Why would I capture your friend? Si Bai asked. Chapter 11:17. Lin Yan stared at Si Bai for a long time. She didn't believe him. Zhang San and Li Si had said that Si Bai had planned to attack the people around her. Not long after, Wang Jingyang had disappeared completely, as if he had vanished from the world. How could Lin Yan believe Si Bai when he said that he hadn't captured the people around her? Si Bai, you don't have to pretend. This is between us. If there's anything, let's be frank. There's no need to implicate innocent people, Lin Yan said coldly as she stared at Si Bai. Si Bai sneered coldly when he heard Lin Yan. What you said makes sense, but you might have misunderstood something. I just said that I didn't capture your friend. No matter what you do, my answer can only be the only one. Si Bai, let me tell you the truth. I received news from the Hunters Guild that you plan to attack the people around me. After that, my friend disappeared. Do you think there's such a coincidence in this world? Lin Yan glanced at Si Bai. Lin Yan didn't mention Zhang San and Li Si. The two brothers had helped her a lot, so she couldn't betray them. What? Do you have people in the Hunters Guild? All right. There should be people in the Hunters Guild. The vice president of the headquarters should be one of your proud test subjects, right? Sibai grinned. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't waste everyone's time. Hand over my friend and I'll let you go. It's a fair deal. Lin Yan stared at Sibai. Lin Yan was only worried about Wang Jingyang's safety. She wasn't in the mood to analyze what Sibai had said. She didn't have the time or patience to explain what Sibai had misunderstood. Are you serious? I'll hand him over. Let me go, said Sibai. Lin Yan nodded. I'll keep my word. As long as my friend is safe and sound, I'll let you go. All right, I'll take you there. Sibai smiled. Xiaoyao, let go of me. Otherwise, how can I take you there? Xiaoyao's gaze landed on Lin Yan as he replied calmly, most likely. What do you mean? Lin Yan was puzzled. There's an 80 to 90% chance that he's lying to you. Xiaoyao said, he's stalling for time and using the opportunity to find your friend to escape. Before Lin Yan could speak, Sibai laughed. Ahaha. Xiaoyao, you're not me. How would you know what I'm thinking? Perhaps I really kidnapped this woman's friend. Actually, this deal is very fair, isn't it? I'm even more certain now. Xiaoyao glanced at Lin Yan. I'm lying to you. Lin Yan glared at Sibai, wishing that she could cut the man in front of her into 1,000 pieces. This was really an unexpected disaster. She didn't even know him. Sibai, you better not test my patience. My patience with you is reaching its limit. Veins popped out on Lin Yan's forehead. Although Lin Yan wasn't 100% certain that Sibai had something to do with Wang Jingyang's disappearance, she was 80% certain that it had something to do with him. If she couldn't find Wang Jingyang and get any useful clues from Sibai, Sibai wouldn't have it easy either. I told you the truth but you didn't believe me. TSK. I really have no choice. Sibai smiled and said, I don't even know who your friend is. You should tell me who your friend is first. Perhaps I can remember. End of this chapter. Chapter 11:18. Lin Yan glanced at Sibai and told him about Wang Jingyang. Sibai was startled when he learned the identity of Lin Yan's friend. The man that Lin Yan was talking about was obviously the super-evolved being that night. The reason Sibai hadn't done anything to Lin Yan was because that man had been by her side, so Sibai hadn't dared to act rashly. You said, I captured him? Sibai glanced at Lin Yan. Are you joking with me? Do you think I'm joking with you? Lin Yan frowned. Sibai sneered coldly when he heard Lin Yan. Ahaha. The man you're talking about wasn't captured by me. I think he might have just gone somewhere for a vacation. Sibai really didn't know who could capture an evolved being of that level. At the very least, he didn't have the ability to do so. Hence, it was obvious that this woman had found the wrong person. This matter had nothing to do with him. At that moment, Xiaoyao gently placed his left hand between Sibai's eyebrows before retracting it. You shouldn't be lying. Your friend's disappearance probably has nothing to do with him. Xiaoyao glanced at Lin Yan. How do you know? He's too cunning? Lin Yan didn't believe that Sibai would tell the truth. No matter how cunning he is, he can't escape my spiritual perception in his current state. He isn't lying, said Xiaoyao. Are you sure? Lin Yan was surprised. I'm sure at the moment unless he made himself lose the memory of capturing your friend, said Xiaoyao. Sibai, you really didn't capture Wang Jingyang? Lin Yan composed herself. Xiaoyao is very clear, right? Sibai glanced at Lin Yan and smiled. If I really captured your friend, do you think I wouldn't dare to admit it? At that moment, Lin Yan was a little flustered. If it wasn't Sibai, who was it? Although Lin Yan didn't believe Sibai, she believed Xiaoyao's words. According to Xiaoyao, he would definitely be able to sense it if Sibai lied. Hence, from the looks of it, Sibai wasn't lying. He hadn't captured Wang Jingyang. Are you sure your friend's disappearance has something to do with evolved beings? Xiaoyao asked Lin Yan. Lin Yan nodded at first before shaking her head. Initially, Lin Yan had been very sure. However, if Sibai hadn't done it, she wouldn't be so sure anymore. If it was done by an evolved person, they could still find out, but if it wasn't done by an evolved person, after so many years, Lin Yan had gotten to know Wang Jingyang very well. He didn't have any friends or female friends, let alone enemies. Even if someone wanted to murder him, Wang Jingyang wouldn't even have a coin in his wallet. Looking at him would be an insult to her. He didn't have any enemies, didn't have a girlfriend, and was extremely poor. He never caused any trouble. What could happen to such a person? Wang Jingyang's disappearance was definitely not as simple as it seemed on the surface, nor could it be some kind of coincidence. The last time Lin Yan had spoken to Wang Jingyang, He had said that he had something important to do. If he knew what Wang Jingyang was up to, perhaps, however, Lin Yan didn't have a clue at all. Go back first? Xiao Yao interrupted Lin Yan's thoughts. What about him? Lin Yan's eyes trailed to see by. End of chapter. Chapter 11:19. Let see by stay with me for now. I still need some time to confirm if my judgment is wrong, said Xiao Yao. Lin Yan nodded in response. For now, that seemed to be the only way. It was impossible for her to let him go. Before Wang Jingyang's matter was resolved, she couldn't let Si Bai leave so easily. Even if Wang Jingyang hadn't been involved, Lin Yan would still have to settle the score with Si Bai. No matter what Si Bai's motive was, or if there was a misunderstanding between the two of them, she had to resolve it. After leaving Xiao Yao's villa, Lin Yan walked to Cloud Manor. Lin Yan didn't drive or take a taxi. Her mind was in a mess and she needed to sort it out. Si Bai was her best friend. She couldn't let anything happen to Wang Jingyang. However, Wang Jingyang had been missing for so long, but she didn't have any clues. She had thought that she would be able to get news of Wang Jingyang after taking down Si Bai tonight. Who would have thought that things would develop like this? During the years she had spent abroad, Wang Jingyang had always been by her side. The two of them could be described as relying on each other for survival. They had suffered together, enjoyed happiness together, fought together, and been beaten together. When Lin Yan had been at her lowest and most helpless, they had walked in the wind and rain together. They had shared a piece of meat with each other. Although they weren't related by blood, they were closer than siblings. She had already lost her brother, so she couldn't lose Wang Jingyang as well. Regardless of whether it was an evolved person or a non-evolved person, if anyone hurt Wang Jingyang, she would make that person fall into the abyss. Lin Yan suddenly stopped in her tracks and gazed ahead in astonishment. The young man's body was floating in midair, and his eyes were moving slowly. Under the moonlight he looked a little strange. Evolved person. Lin Yan was startled. Lin Yan could sense an oppressive aura emanating from this young man, which made it difficult for her to breathe. Beautiful lady, we meet again? The man's gaze landed on Lin Yan. After sizing her up for a moment, his body slowly landed on the ground. Although Lin Yan's face was expressionless, she was extremely wary. I don't think we know each other. We've never seen each other before. Ah, not really. I saw him some time ago when you were driving, the man said with a smile. Lin Yan was startled when she heard that. She suddenly recalled that something had chased after her, Wang Jingyang and Xiao Ji. At that time she thought it was a big black dog that was very fast. Anyway, she didn't see it clearly. Why are you looking for me? Lin Yan asked the man. Miss, there is something that my lord needs on you. Please come with me. Of course, you don't have to worry, I won't hurt you, the man said with a smile. I don't have anything with me, replied Lin Yan. Haha, beautiful young lady, whether you have it or not, it doesn't matter to me. Only my master can judge. Young lady, please come with me, the man said. What if I don't go with you? What will you do? Lin Yan glanced at the man. End of chapter. Chapter 11:20. The man seemed to be in a dilemma when he heard Lin Yan. He glanced at Lin Yan and sighed. Beautiful lady, it's better not to make things difficult for me. You're not only making things difficult for me, but you're also making things difficult for yourself. Don't you think so? Lin Yan stood rooted to the ground and didn't say anything. However, her gaze never left the man. Who is your master? Lin Yan asked the man. The man smiled and gestured for her to keep quiet. I have no obligation to tell you this. You said that I have something you need? Lin Yan pressed on. Is there a misunderstanding? She had nothing on her other than her wallet. An evolved being of this level had stopped her in the middle of the night and wanted to take her away. He couldn't be trying to snatch her wallet. We'll find out whether you have what we need after we bring you back. You shouldn't be asking about this. The man smiled. Then there's no room for discussion, replied Lin Yan. Discussion? The man was taken aback. Why? You think I'm here to discuss with you? Lin Yan seemed to have thought of something. She glanced at the man who was walking toward her and asked tentatively, Did you capture a friend of mine? Even if Si Bai hadn't been behind Wang Jingyang's disappearance, Lin Yan was certain that it had something to do with evolved beings. Some time ago these people had chased her car. Coincidentally, Wang Jingyang had been in the car, so Lin Yan suspected that they had captured Wang Jingyang. Your friend? The man's eyes were filled with confusion. Who is your friend? Why don't I know? Lin Yan felt a little disappointed when she saw the man's reaction. It seemed like Wang Jingyang's disappearance had nothing to do with them. Lin Yin sighed helplessly. Si Bai's matter hadn't been settled yet, but now, another person had appeared. The most annoying thing was that Lin Yin didn't know either Si Bai or the man standing in front of her. Since there's no room for discussion, there's no other way. Lin Yan's expression gradually became determined as she watched the man walk over. Tisk, beautiful lady, I advise you not to make a move. You should know the gap between us. If you don't listen to my advice then, before the man could finish his sentence, Lin Yin turned around and fled. In the blink of an eye, she had vanished without a trace in the dark. The man had thought that Lin Yin would fight him head-on, but he hadn't expected her to escape without warning. You run away with such an imposing manner? The man is stunned in place. Wasn't she ready to make a move just now? Why didn't this woman play according to the routine? Does this evolved human really have something that master needs? The man looked a little confused. A moment later, the man leaped and disappeared into the night. A few minutes later, Lin Yin stopped and surveyed the area behind her. When Lin Yin turned around, she realized that the man was following her at a leisurely pace. The man didn't look fast, but Lin Yin couldn't shake him off. What is this? Shrinking into an inch? Lin Yin was shocked. If she was right, the man should be walking slowly as though he was enjoying the scenery. Chapter 11:21. Just walking alone was faster than her full speed? Lin Yin believed that she was faster than a car on the highway. How could that man be faster than her? Why aren't you running? Lin Yin had just stopped when the man's teasing voice came from behind her. It's so late. Can't you go home and sleep early? Didn't your mother tell you that staying up late is bad for your health? Lin Yin stared at the man with a frown. Without giving the man a chance to speak, Lin Yin pressed on. Do you really think I can't beat you? So you've given up on escaping and are prepared to fight to the death? Asked the man. It seems like you have a misunderstanding of my strength. Lin Yin sneered coldly. She couldn't outrun him, but that didn't mean that she couldn't beat him. At the very least, she had many glorious achievements. Misunderstanding of your strength? The man grinned. Do you have a misunderstanding of your own strength? Then cut the crap. Let's do it. Whoever is beaten to death tonight will be unlucky, said Lin Yin. All right. The man nodded. How about this? I'll only attack once. As long as you can withstand it and not get hurt, I'll let you go. I won't pester you anymore. Lin Yin sneered coldly. You're too arrogant. You want to take me down with one blow? All right, as long as you're happy. This man was looking down on her too much. Lin Yin realized that this man should also be a physical evolved being. Since they were both physical evolved beings, there was nothing to be afraid of. She was only annoyed by that kind of evolved being with a brain. Their fighting style was very strange. Their fighting style was simple and violent. They would raise their fists and attack. Whoever was afraid was a coward. As long as he wasn't an evolved being with brains like Pei Yuqing, she had nothing to be afraid of. I'm going to attack. How are your preparations? The man stared at Lin Yin, the corners of his mouth curling up. A second later, the man's speed reached the limit. When he took a step forward, the ground nearby shook violently. In the blink of an eye, the man was already beside Lin Yin. A second later, he threw a punch at Lin Yin. Before the punch arrived, the wind from the punch had already arrived. Lin Yan's eyes filled with disbelief as she faced the indescribable power of an evolved being. This was the first time Lin Yin had realized how wrong she had been. She had thought that she could at least fight a few rounds with this man. When the man struck, Lin Yin realized that she couldn't even withstand a single blow from him. The thought of fighting him for a few rounds was a complete joke. Before Lin Yin could snap out of her daze, a figure flashed in the dark. A second later, a handsome young man appeared in front of Lin Yin. Swoosh! The youth struck out with his palm, and a terrifying dragon roar seemed to resound in the surroundings. The young man and the man's fist collided violently, like two stars colliding. Invisible waves of air rose up, dust flew everywhere, and the surrounding trees collapsed in groups. The man staggered backward, and after barely managing to stabilize himself, he coughed up a large mouthful of blood. The man's face was as white as a sheet as he stared in shock at the young man who stood beside Lin Yin. Who are you? The man wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at the young man cautiously. Despicable brat, do you think you are worthy of knowing my name? The young man coldly spoke. All right. The man was enraged as he sneered. Since you chose to be my master's enemy, you will pay the price. The man turned around and fled, disappearing into the night. Chapter 11:22. You want to run? Dream on. The young man snorted coldly as he tried to chase after him. However, he had only taken a few steps when the young man turned back and said, "You're lucky. I'll spare your life." Lin Yin finally snapped out of her daze and stared at the young man in astonishment. "Thank you, little brother." Lin Yin thanked him. "Senior sister, I finally found you." The teenager didn't care about what Lin Yin had to say. He hugged her waist and buried his head in her arms. Lin Yin lowered her head and stared at the young man in confusion. Which mental hospital did this expert come from? Hold on. What did you call me? Lin Yin glanced at the young man. Senior sister. The young man peeled his head away from Lin Yan's arms and gazed at her with his big watery eyes. Senior sister? Lin Yin was puzzled. Your master. What's his name? The young man was startled and frowned. Senior sister, master is master. How can you call him by his name? Lin Yin was speechless. Senior sister, I finally found you. That's great. Master will be thrilled to see you. The young man gazed at Lin Yin and waved his hands excitedly. Lin Yin was speechless. Lin Yin stroked her chin and stared at the young man. You called me senior sister. Are you an aerodynamics student at MIT? However, judging from the young man's age, he didn't seem to be one. She had never seen him before. What do you mean by zoology? I didn't call you senior sister. I called you senior sister. Senior sister, what's wrong? Don't you recognize me? I'm Bai He. Bai He blurted out anxiously. Little brother, did you get the wrong person? Lin Yin replied helplessly. She had never seen this person or heard of his name before. Aren't you Sister Xiaoyan? Bai He stared at Lin Yin. Xiaoyan? Lin Yin was startled. Tell me your full name. I don't know. The young man shook his head. Lin Yin was speechless. My name is Lin Yin, but I don't think I'm Sister Xiaoyan, replied Lin Yin after some thought. You really are Senior Sister Yin. Senior sister, why don't you recognize me? Do you have some difficulties? Tell me. I will avenge you. The young man clutched Lin Yan's arm tightly. I'm really not. Lin Yin sighed heavily. You're my senior sister Xiaoyan, he said hastily. You're my senior sister Xiaoyan. You doted on me the most when I was little. How could I not recognize you? The corners of Lin Yan's mouth twitched. This child was stubborn. She had already said that she wasn't his mother, but he still wouldn't give up. He claimed that she was his senior sister. Why couldn't she be his mother? The teenager refused to leave Lin Yan's side, as though he was certain that Lin Yan was his senior sister. No matter how Lin Yan tried to explain, it was useless. Senior sister, come back with me. The youth tugged at Lin Yan's arm. Where do you want me to go with you? Lin Yan sighed heavily. Let's go back to the mountain, Bai He said. Where is the mountain you mentioned? Asked Lin Yan. I have a map of the mountain. The young man grinned and began to search his body. A moment later, Bai He's smile froze. Senior sister, I'm doomed. My map is gone. I lost my map. Only the special map of the mountain can help me find the sacred mountain. What should I do? Bai He was on the verge of tears. End of chapter. That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.